You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
You could run a fucking pet rock against Donald Trump, and I would vote for the pet rock.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right
Yeah.
Critical.
Hang on, let me I'm gonna change some words here. All right, ready? Adults with religious confusion who truly believe in a higher power that created us and actually cares what we do with our penises and vaginas should be treated with care, compassion, and kindness, but must not be officially affirmed in their confusion, no matter how sincerely held. Fuck you.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
I don't know if you've ever seen a lightning bug, but he flies around with a flame of light coming out of his behind. The lightning bug got a flame coming out of his butt.
It's a beautiful night tonight. All the sodomites are out.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
I'm not at all ready to do this show tonight.
It's okay. Front of same.
Ay. Can everybody hear themselves okay? No, you're really
Oh, for
quiet.
real?
All right, try that again.
Am I here now?
Oh, look, there you are.
Thanks for the microphone, Sarah. Jeez.
Listen, look, it's been a really bad fucking day. All right?
Tell us.
And you know.
Yes.
You were there.
I got that text at 5 o'clock in the morning that nobody wants to get.
So
5.
before we get into the show, I'm Sarah Austin. In the studio with me, my lovely wife Becca.
Hi, peeps.
And our great friend Andrea.
Hi.
You
Hi,
gotta
dear.
get right up into that microphone.
I'm right up into
Ooh,
this
there you go.
There you go. We want to hear that
Purr.
sexiness.
I can't purr.
You can't do that.
You can't- you get it-
guys, I've tried for years.
Listen,
And,
it doesn't have to go all the way down your throat. Just kind of close.
Oh, well, then that's great.
Man. Thank you. So, at 4:45 this morning, while I'm at work, I get a message from one of the supervisors who's out in my work location taking care of things. And she says, "Hey, there's somebody in your truck." And I, not knowing what that meant, so we have a work vehicle that's a truck, and I drive a Jeep, which is not a truck, right? But when you convert, when you're converting like Puerto Rican Spanish into English,
Oh, my God.
vehicle equals truck, so everything's a truck. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But anyway, she says somebody's in your truck. So I go barreling out of the office, headed to where my Jeep is parked next to the work vehicle. Like they're right next to each other, right? And I don't know if there's like people sleeping in the back of the pickup truck, or I have no idea what I'm walking into. And I walk up, and sure enough, the driver's side door of the Jeep is open. And there's a guy sitting in the front seat of my Jeep with like a leg hanging out, and he's got the panel under the steering wheel pulled out, the wiring harness pulled out, and every single wire cut in the harness.
Oh, my God.
Next to him, in my passenger seat with the door shut, is his broad.
Oh, no. I didn't know there's a female
Oh,
here.
there's a girl, too. Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
I'm going to put a link to her Facebook page. Just kidding.
No, stop
I'm
it.
kidding. I'm kidding.
So, so I roll up on him, and I'm like, and this is my first mistake, right? So I rolled up on him, and I'm like, "Hey, what you doing in my vehicle?" And the guy says, "Oh, this is your vehicle? I thought it was hers." And I was like, "What you doing?" Well, I thought it was hers. I'm trying to hotwire it. Like, admitted,
He told
I'm trying
you.
to hotwire the vehicle.
Dumbass.
What? No. At 5 a.m.
Hey, wait. We forgot to tell you, this is the Florida Man segment this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Jesus. So throw out everything that I'd planned on talking about tonight, because this is it. This is my life. This is what happened. So I'm like, okay, you guys need to hang right here. And I start going through the process. I'm calling 911. because I have to come at this from two different angles. Like, this is my personal vehicle, and it's at my place of work where I'm the property manager that I have to take. Like, so
Right.
Yeah.
these are the same steps I would have had to take if it was your car that got broken.
Anybody's car, yeah.
So while I'm doing that, they slip out through the side of the garage and take off running.
Oh my god.
And like, we watched them as they ran out into the parking lot. So we're waiting for county police to show up. Sheriffs get, but between the time that I make the call and the sheriffs get there, my supervisor found on the ground like a little purse, like a small makeup bag, very real small thing. And it had her
a wristlet.
Yeah, sort of. And it had her driver's license in it.
Nice, dude. Okay, so they got him.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know.
We still don't know.
So they have an
won't tell
ID,
us, yeah.
right?
Thank
They're not
God.
going to tell me, but they have an
Good to
ID
go.
for her, but not for him. And so, they're probably going to call me to look at a lineup and try to pick them out. And I worry about that because I have the most terrible memory of all humanity. And so, like,
Right.
by the time they started asking me questions, they were like, "Okay, can you describe the female?" She was female. She had dark hair, I think. And, like, I'm just terrible at this. I'm the worst person to witness a crime
She really is.
Because-
She's horrible.
Your own car.
because they're gonna. Yeah,
I have
in my own car.
I've had to like ask those questions of her before when like doctor's appointments or school things. Oh, who was it? What did they look like? I don't know. What
Oh my god.
what color
it's funny.
hair? I don't know.
Yeah.
How tall were they? How old were they? I don't know.
I'm really bad at it.
Lord. Well, you have other people who saw them run too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
Got
had
that.
another
Got an
witness.
idea.
Right. And
Okay.
and the supervisor who saw them first that contacted me, like, she was the first witness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and she said she could positively identify them if presented to
Well,
her
that's,
later.
That's good.
So that'll
Oh
help
my-
too, right?
Okay, so
So, so they take off running. At this point, the county sheriffs show up, all of them, like
That was quick.
the
right?
entire damn sector. Oh, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely.
It's funny because I was talking to Stacy earlier, and she said something about calling for paramedics or 911 or something, and it taking the average call takes X amount of time or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
don't live in cornfield, like bumblefuck
Cornfield.
cornfield, like five. I
Yeah.
said, and that happened to me last night. Actually, I had to call 911, and they were 5 minutes. They were there,
yeah,
like 5 minutes.
Yeah. That kind
the
of
whole
stuff.
force.
Right. Yeah.
The
right.
whole horse.
Yeah,
In
so
Orlando?
5 in the morning.
So they set up a perimeter around the area, right? And they're trying to,
Well, they were on foot.
they know which, well,
So,
Yeah.
and so that's the other thing. Like, we don't know
They had a
if they
car
had another
somewhere,
vehicle
yeah.
somewhere else. If they,
Yeah.
no idea.
Oh my god.
So then we noticed that in order to gain entry, I have a soft top Jeep. So in order to gain entry, they had cut a slit in the window, the vinyl, clear vinyl window. So they cut through that to reach in and unlock the door. Which is funny because I had a Jeep Wrangler, a 94 Jeep
Yeah.
Wrangler. In 98, I think it was, I was living in my first apartment
Oh my god.
in Mount Zion, Illinois. And there was like this rash of car break-ins one night, and they hit every apartment complex. And back then, CD players didn't come built into the vehicle. You had to like buy them separately and bolt them to the bottom of your,
Yeah.
your dash. So I had one of those until these guys broke in and took it. Now, when they took that, the police came out, they took a statement, they did all their stuff, and they were like, "You didn't lock your door? What the fuck's wrong with you? Why don't you lock your door?" I'm like, well, they got away with my CD player. Had I had the door locked, they would have cut the fabric and taken my CD player. All I have to replace right now is a CD player. Otherwise, I'd have been replacing the top also.
Right.
That's why I
You
don't
know.
lock it. Now, I start locking my Jeep. Now,
God.
that exact scenario happens. 10 years later.
Yikes.
Something
Oh,
like that.
what? Like to the day.
yeah, right.
The stars aligned. in
Oh
the
my
sky.
God.
Yeah, it's 20 years. Oh my God, I'm old. That's 20 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 years is not
No,
1998.
I moved down here 10 years ago. So, anywho, so they do all their statements. They dust for prints. They bring the dog out to get the scent. Like, they did all the things. And then they left. And meanwhile, I called Becca and was like, hey, you're going to have to come get me. I don't know what's going on. This is what happened. So she wakes the kids up at the ass crack of dawn, gets them in the van, and they come to work to pick me up. So then she suggests, because I don't keep my car clean, you should probably get all the shit out of your car. We're going to have to tow it to the mechanic to have all that stuff fixed. You should probably get everything out of it. And there's like 2 months worth of mail on the floorboard of the passenger side, and stuff like that. So I'm gathering all the stuff and bagging it all up, taking it out. And in the dash, there's this little cubby up in the center of the dash where I keep like a little notebook that I never write in, and I have a hang tag for work where says I'm legitimate to park in this space. And so as I'm cleaning that out, we find a large folding knife, like a switchblade sort of type of knife, like large serrated knife, which has to be the conveyance used to enter the vehicle and probably to cut the wiring. So luckily there was still, we have a county deputy office right in our property. So it's not somebody there all the time, but there just happened to be a deputy there. So we were like, hey, and he was there at the original call, so he knew what was going on. Hey, we're going to need you again. So that was my morning.
Ooh, my morning was not as exciting. Oh my God. Like, I can't even imagine just the initial shock of going out there. Like, hi, what you doing? I'm in the car.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to the story? Because I don't know.
All I know is that I almost didn't look at my phone.
Oh my God.
Like,
no.
I was laying in bed and like I felt I keep the phone like kind of, in the bed so that if it goes off, because she's not home. So I worry that I'm going to get a call in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And so, but I also have been playing this game and it buzzes every time it's like a with friends type of game. So it buzzes every time it's my turn to play. And I have not turned that off yet. Like, I haven't gotten that sick of it yet that I just want to turn the notifications off. So periodically in the middle of the night, my phone will just buzz. And so, and it buzzes just like it would if it was a text message. So that buzz happened and I was like, it's probably just a stupid game, whatever. I didn't know what time it was. I was sleeping really good, but I laid there.
For a change.
Right. Yeah. Because I've been having a few rough nights. And then there was just this nagging feeling. So like maybe 3 or 4 minutes went by after the buzz. I'm like, I better check that. And I opened the screen and I'm like, holy fuck, what the hell?
That's
so
wild.
then I had like that, am I dreaming? Am I awake?
Right.
What's going on? So I like sat up in bed. I looked at the phone again. I texted back. And then I'm like, okay, this is real. Now I got to start getting out of bed. Fuck.
Right.
And then the kids Austin was freaked out, obviously, because, I've got to tell him. Did I just do that?
You did. You're fired. Timestamp 3157.
Our son was obviously freaked out because, you don't normally get woken up in the middle of the night to your mom saying, hey, we have an emergency.
Right.
We have to go.
Right. That's scary.
We have to go.
Yeah.
And so he was like, ooh. And to explain to him, I went and showed him how to lock the garage door because I didn't really have any information other than these people tried to hotwire my Jeep. And I
need you to come here.
I need you to come here.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were apprehended. I didn't know if they got away. I didn't know if they stole a bunch of stuff out of the Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if they, had our personal information. I mean, I know she has her mail and registrations. There's a garage door opener. Yeah. Like all these things go through my head. So I'm like, before I leave the house, I need to make sure everything's secure. So we do have on our garage door a lock so I can lock down the garage door so that even if you have that remote, you can't get in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so I was like explaining that to our son and he was like, So then he went into all of this stuff like, oh my gosh, what if they stole the garage door opener and they try to come to our house? And I'm like, oh, 7-year-old
shouldn't have
feeling really bad
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
And, you know, but then it's also a lesson for him. And I told him, you know, you do, unfortunately, in the world that we live in, you have to think 3 steps ahead of what your contingency plan
Sometimes you
is
have
for
to think
things
the
and
worst case
yeah.
scenario, and that sucks. But you need to be able to do it. Your brain needs to know how to walk through those steps.
I was worried. I wasn't sure what we were going to find when we got there. I didn't know what Sarah's emotional state was. So I was trying to prepare him for that too.
Oh, my emotional state was a disaster.
I gotta tell you though, I
Fucking train
was
wreck.
surprised because I was prepared for like a ball of emotions by the time I got there.
The meltdown didn't happen until I got home and had laid in bed for a few hours.
I know.
Because once you start thinking about it,
right?
You know, over and over.
All that adrenaline drains out. But you know, so I was like telling the kids, okay, we got to just kind of, today's gonna be a rough day, and we're gonna just get through it. So other than that, though, I was surprised it wasn't worse when I got there.
Yep. Russell said fingerprints on the knife. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they came and took the knife into evidence.
Yeah, that's
and
wonderful
they
have all that.
dusted for prints all over the doors and all over everywhere, right? So like, and again, like the investigator was like, look, she handed us her driver's license.
Yeah.
Come on, this is the
That's
easiest
gold.
case
Like,
we're gonna have all day. Like they were all
Right.
joking, like this is such an easy case. She left us her calling card,
Mm-hmm.
and you get her in the room, and she'll roll on her buddy real easy.
Yeah,
We'll go easy on you if you tell us about your friend.
right.
Well,
Sure.
I want to know her story.
Yeah, right. God, there was something else I was going to say about all of that, but now I don't remember. Just that, I guess that that whole like I was running on adrenaline, like literally all I was doing.
Yeah.
And so then I come home and I'm like, to your point, like my brain is just going over. I'm replaying this thing in my head over and over and over and over again. And then every 5th time I'm replaying it, but I'm like, why the fuck didn't I call the cops before I went out there? Right. Well, because when you call them, they're like, okay, well, what does the suspect look like? I don't know. I'm not out there. Like, they're going to ask you 20 questions. Send me a fucking deputy now.
Right.
So I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know if it was my personal vehicle or like, I just didn't know. So I felt like I needed to go find out what the situation was. And then when they were in my vehicle, that's when I just went into like autopilot and get the fuck out of my vehicle. What do you think you're doing?
Sure.
Get out of here.
Absolutely. Because you don't want to call them too, and then you start asking questions.
But had I called and dispatched them first, they probably could have gotten there in time and caught them in the act.
Right.
You know, who knows? But that's how my brain works. That's how it's the trauma. I think of going through something like that. It's what your brain does.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Dan.
Oh,
Dan has
you
arrived.
missed the beginning.
Oh,
You missed the whole story, Dan. You're gonna have to rewind.
It's crazy. Woo.
all right, let's move on. We got a lot of things to talk about tonight, and not enough time to talk about them.
I am so confused. What is AFK?
Away from keyboard.
Got it.
Oh, that's some old school.
You grew up in that.
Listen, I am not that person.
Okay.
I think we use that playing RuneScape. No one knows what
Listen,
it
it took me like 6 months before I figured out what SMH was. So.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
I hate SMH.
Me too.
Type it out, man.
I'm gonna use
I
that.
thought
I'm gonna use that every
I'ma
time
do
we
that.
text. I'm gonna send that to you once a week.
I thought it was like some weird code for S&M or something.
Oh Jesus. Okay, so here's the plan for tonight. We have some news stories to try to get through. We have we have more Florida Man stuff to talk about.
Yes.
And then at 9:00, we are going to be talking to Ethan, who is the Ethan Dodge. He's one of the founders of MormonLeaks and FaithLeaks. Is part of the Truth and Transparency organization that he created, that is working to expose troubles in the church and abuses. So we'll talk to him in the second half of the show here. If I don't get through all of this stuff, there may be a third half. I don't know. Dan Russell, this may be a long show, but I don't know.
Bear with us.
We'll see what we can get through.
Put your seatbelts on, kids.
So that is That's coming up in the second half. So I guess first, let's just get into the news. Are you a fan of the Olympics?
Please hold. Please hold.
Do you love the Olympics?
Please hold.
Yes.
You know, you're complaining about how long the show is going to be. If you didn't have to put all this fancy little music in here for
then it
your new
wouldn't be as
Canadian
fun.
girlfriends,
Listen.
then
Like I said,
maybe we could have a decent length show. I'm just kidding. Go on.
Um,
I'm going to just check out for this segment.
do you love the Olympics? I love the Winter Olympics.
I do
too.
actually
I
love
miss
the
the opening
Olympics.
ceremonies.
I want to watch them all the time.
I'm
but
not a
I
big
can't.
fan of Summer Olympics.
No,
but
me neither.
winter,
No.
winter I can get
I
behind.
like
Winter
gymnastics.
Oh,
Very
okay.
impressive.
I
yeah.
like gymnastics,
But
and then
skiing,
Winter Olympics. I like the skiing and the figure
Shaun
skating
White.
and the
Yes.
snowboard.
all
So
this stuff.
a big thank you to Maddie who helped me connect to be able to watch the Olympics. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I love the Winter Olympics, and sometimes in the middle of the night at work, like when I'm sitting in the break room eating my lunch, I will catch like old rebroadcasts of like old Olympic.
When you're not catching people stealing your car.
Yes. And I almost can't watch it because it makes me want to just like quit my job and become a professional curler.
Yes, curling.
Right? I love curling.
There's stairs.
Curling looks like a sport I might actually be able to do. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm like,
Oh no,
sports is not
You've
my
upset
thing.
Becca. You all right over here? Are we upset about curling?
I don't understand curling.
Tell us
I
more.
don't.
We don't have the
What
time to
is
go
the
through it
point
here. But I,
of putting a teapot on the ice
It's a
and
rock.
pretending
first of all, it's a
that
stone.
whatever
Teapot.
looks
They're
like a
giving tea to their
teapot.
friends.
Stone with a
It
handle.
looks like a game that the cavemen made up before
Yeah,
actual sports were invented.
So it's kind of like a cross between shuffleboard and bowling,
See,
but
I
on
hate
the
shuffleboard too.
Oh my god.
Whatever.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bitter.
I guess. Jesus.
Were you was that like your life goal?
I
Was to be a
just-
curler, and now you're very bitter.
No,
about
I
it.
just don't. I never got it. I mean, I used to play sports. I never understood curling.
Okay. So the Olympics are supposed to be the bring the world together sports event, right?
Russell, I hate you.
Can you not interrupt me?
I'm sorry. He's siding with you.
That's fine.
Go on.
Are you finished?
Not nearly.
So the Olympics are supposed to bring everybody together, right? All the different nations of the world come together in peace and harmony to compete in a friendly competition. And yet, in this Star Trek mirror universe where everyone is evil and has a goatee and Donald Trump is the emperor, did you see he's trying to, like, he wants to do a military parade?
He's
Did
an
you see this?
asshole. Yes, I did see this. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
I
he
don't know about that.
he goes to France and he watches their Bastille Day military parade. And this,
Yeah.
all I
He's
can picture is
such an idiot.
he's sitting in France, just like, oh yeah,
right?
I gotta have one of these at home. Oh yeah, oh
Tell you what, Donnie.
Probably.
Tell you what. I'll let you have that parade. But you can use that money to put on that parade, and then there ain't going to be a wall.
yeah, right.
No,
How about
yeah.
that? That can be the
Wall.
compromise.
Don't forget the wall.
So they're saying it'll cost millions of dollars to put together, but I mean Mexico's gonna pay for it, right?
Oh, I thought France was going to pay for it because it was
will
their
pay for it
idea.
this time, right? Look, this is dictatorship 101, and while yes, America has done military displays like this before, they were generally at the end of a war,
Right.
like a major war.
Oh, no, but he just won the war. He
No.
beat Hillary.
Oh, Jesus!
Yeah, don't forget about Hillary.
He won the war against the Russians. And yes, France has a military parade too, but we join the ranks.
He was
of-
playing war
Oh,
with a
stop it.
deck of cards.
We are joining the ranks of nations like Russia, the former Soviet Union, China, and North Korea. These are the best nations. The best.
They're the best folks.
And that brings us back to dystopian mirror universe Olympics. So here's the scene. North Korea's leader is trigger happy. He's been escalating tensions with the U.S. and the free world in general over the past year. And in spite of the possibility of the first ever nuclear winter Olympics.
Oh, my God.
Did you write that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, nice.
The world said, sure, let's do Olympics in his backyard this year. While there's, where there's artillery aimed and well within missile strike range. In fact, officials from France, Austria, and Germany threatened to skip the games entirely if safety couldn't be guaranteed.
I don't blame them.
Probably didn't hear that in the news, though. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. They were too busy making Trump jokes. Then Kim Jong-un makes an unexpected gesture to compete with South Korea on some events under a Korean unification flag. Meanwhile, a bunch of Russians who, let's be honest, Olympic sports are pretty much the only thing going for Russia, right? That's like all they have.
Vodka.
Vodka.
Yeah, yes. They were uninvited over a doping scandal, and some others won't be. Some of them won't be allowed to compete. Some of them are competing, but they're not allowed to compete under the Russian flag.
Right.
They're competing. What? They're competing under the Olympic athletes from Russia. Okay.
How? But it is
Russia. No.
Okay.
Hold on, because
Okay.
they
I've got stuff.
That's so strange. But so they're saying they're from Russia still.
Right.
It's not like they're
right, but they're playing under like just a basic Olympic flag.
So can I say I'm not American, but I'm from America?
right.
Sure.
Right. Like, what's the point, man?
Like,
what's the point? I don't get it.
I don't want to compete as an American. I want to compete as a person that lives in America.
I unfortunately am stuck.
Check this out. They made this was one of the proposed logos, and it's not too far off from the final. But it looks like a 6th grader made it in word art. Oh, God.
Nice. Oh, my God. I'm ready.
There it is.
Oh, are you kidding me?
That sucks. And it's written in English. Like,
well, of course.
Well,
yeah.
Olympic athlete from Russia.
Yeah.
So,
but as a collective, as a group,
yeah, but
they are the Olympic athletes from Russia.
Right. So shouldn't it say that?
No.
No. Are you?
Because this makes me think that there's only one of them.
Might as well be.
Anyway, one guy
so if they win the gold medal, who gets the credit?
Vladimir.
Which one?
All of them. They're all great.
All right, so
only the Russian ones.
Only the Russian Vladimirs.
Just in time for the Winter Olympics, Canada has updated its national anthem to be gender neutral. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did.
Canada.
Now, I love Canada, and they're so
good.
polite and sorry. Here is the footage of the members of the House of Commons singing the anthem just after they passed this change in
have you seen this?
It's gonna hurt.
I haven't seen it.
They singers, they are not.
No.
I love this.
You hear the tone deaf guy?
He's the only one you hear.
The only one.
I like how they started on him.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, what it did is it changed that in that very first stanza, it changed the line "in all thy sons command" to "in all of us command." So there you go.
Nice.
Well done, Canada. A representative from Canada actually said, "It's about time. Sorry it took so long, eh?"
He said that.
Thanks.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We love you, Canada.
Yay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have your Olympic curlers too. I'm not bitter.
Not better.
Look, once it's over, then my free pass will switch back, and it won't be Olympic curlers anymore.
Sure.
What?
I didn't think that's how free passes worked, but go on.
Yeah, you'd use it on
I
a
didn't
curler.
think that they were interchangeable.
For now, right?
Right. Well,
They can change.
tis
That's
the
the thing.
season.
You can
it's
change.
not like the fish of the week, Sarah.
the fish of the week.
Fish of the week.
Okay. The next story comes from the Orlando Weekly. Altamont Springs police say an LGBTQ support center was actually a sex club.
Oh,
Did you see this story?
no.
So here's the backstory. Apparently in December, detectives started investigating some Craigslist posts advertising a place where men could meet for sex. Club 1000 advertised pornography broadcast in private rooms and glory holes available for use.
Oh my.
Guests were directed to park in the back And charged $15 admission plus a $5 monthly membership fee. But apparently,
Wait, wow,
$5 a month.
that's classy,
right? And then when you want to come in, it's 15.
That was good.
But apparently, Altamont Springs clerk's office showed a business registered to that location called TA Support Group LLC, which said it provided non-medical counseling services to the LGBTQ community. Undercover officers investigated the place and were given the following rules. Clean up your own mess. No means no. Only ask once. And no costumes or wigs.
Like Disney.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. A receptionist and a customer were arrested in a raid last month and charged with misdemeanor. So here's my question. Why are we so fucking uptight about this stuff? Like, why can't there be a safe place for consenting adults to go and engage in consensual sexual activity?
right?
Wouldn't we rather have that than some danger? Like, there's some dangerous places that people find to hook up, you know?
Yeah, that's absolutely
Bathroom
true.
stalls and shit.
That's like drugs. Like,
yeah.
you know, whatever. That we can talk about that forever too. I agree.
I just, yeah.
No. Oh, brother.
Speaking of dangerous places, the next story comes from Lambda Legal. On Tuesday of this week, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals heard a case about an Illinois woman, Marsha Wetzel. In July of 2016,
Of Wetzel's
no,
Pretzels?
I don't think so.
Damn, that would have been so
That would
nice.
have been good. Yeah.
In July of 2016, Lambda Legal filed a complaint on her behalf under the Federal Fair Housing Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and sex in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. That court dismissed the case without reference to the sex or orientation claims, and so Lambda Legal appealed the case to the 7th Circuit. So, what the hell happened? Glen St. Andrew Living Community is a for-profit senior living facility in Niles, Illinois. Marsha moved into the facility after her partner of 30 years passed away, her partner Judy. Judy's family took the house and evicted Marsha.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. They were not fans of this union. So she moved into the senior living facility, and after getting to know some of the people there, she disclosed that she had been in a long-term relationship with a woman and that they had raised a family together. Some residents began to harass her, physically attack her, and call her names like Fruity Loop, fucking dyke, fucking faggot, and homosexual bitch.
Oh my God.
Right?
Wow.
So first, I want you to picture like some grumpy old cow spatting fucking dyke while trying to keep her teeth in. You know what I mean? Like,
Was Illinois?
these old people, yeah.
Oh.
It's my Chicagoland area, though.
Chicago. Wow.
They told her Judy died to get away from you, and if you'd ever had it with a man, you'd never want a woman again.
Okay. They know what they're talking about.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which is sad because, like, I often notice, and again, this is my own limited experience, but I think I notice somewhat that we always say, like, the young kids get it, you know? Yeah, the young kids just, they get it. People love each other, whatever, right? They don't need an explanation. They haven't been taught anything differently. But also, you know, and again, I'm making a generalization here, but that old people tend to get it too, because they're at this stage in their life where they're just like, look, you do just have to live and be happy. I'm about to die. Like, I don't really care what you do.
Right.
Not these dumb cunts.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's miserable. God. Makes you so angry. But, like, I don't know. How do you approach that kind of personality?
Right. Marsha reported the incidents of harassment and abuse to the facility administrators, but rather than taking action to address the ongoing discrimination, the staff have marginalized and alienated Marsha and retaliated against her for complaining about the harassment.
Oh my God.
Wetzel contacted Lambda Legal after administration did nothing to address her complaints. So Tuesday this week, Glen St. Andrew argued that they have zero obligation to keep any of their residents safe from discriminatory harassment.
Wow.
Which is like completely the opposite of what the law says
Absolutely.
in the fair housing.
Wow, dude.
Now, I want to show you this video that they put together, and we'll link this in the show notes too. But this is a video that they put together, so you can hear from Marsha directly.
Your golden
Maybe if it'll play.
years. What I used to think, me and Judy sitting on the porch, our house, and just relaxing. But that's not realistic, because when you retire and you're gay, there's more fear, more worry, more staying on your toes. My name is Marsha Marie Wetzel, and I live at Glen St. Andrew Living Community in Niles, Illinois. Judy, the love of my life. She was proud of me to be a guard. I always teased her she fell in love with my uniform. She says, maybe at first, but I fell in love with what was under it. And that picture she had on her little table for 30 years. She was just so generous of herself, so giving, so loving, so pretty. And then we decided to adopt a baby. He came along, our life got better. It glued us. She died of colon cancer. It was very, very hard, but I took care of her till the ambulance come to take her to the hospice. I was shunned, completely shut out. No one would drive me to her funeral. I sat on the couch, I couldn't even cry. I thought, such hate for what we were. There was nothing wrong with what we were. He wasn't himself.
It's her son.
He started hitting me. The court said for 2 years, he and I could not contact. I didn't know what to do. I stayed at the house. I get a knock on the door. It's a sheriff's deputy. I'm being evicted. I needed a place to live. The social worker called around and she said, I found a place in Niles. We set up an appointment and I got a room. When I first got here, I started meeting the people. It was great, making all these new friends. And I thought, hey, this isn't bad. And then it changed. One of the residents, we were talking about our children. And she said, oh, where's your husband? I said, I never had a husband. Oh, you're a single parent? I said, no, I had a partner. My partner was a woman, and we raised a son. It got out, and I thought, oh no, here we go again. Baby. There were a handful of residents I could tell were really going to give me trouble. I tried to avoid them, but they would seek me out to taunt me. I heard every negative homosexual term. I've been hit more than once. You can get so scared, you can't sleep, you can't eat, you don't want to take a shower, you don't want to get dressed, you don't want to go in the hall. When is it going to stop? I'd look out the window, I got a cemetery out there. That's when I'll stop being made fun of because I'm gay. I feel like the staff don't protect me. I don't feel any safety in going to them. They accuse me of things I don't do. They ignore me like I'm a ghost. If I put in a complaint, I hear nothing. I'm not treated like the other residents. If you can't go to the staff, who do you go to? I'm disabled. I have financial worries. You have other things to contend with. I thought, there's a lot of places like this. How many other gays in these retirement homes are going through what I'm going through? They're not being properly taken care of or protected. I want to stick with this and get justice. And I want people to know, stop pushing us around. The older I'm getting, and the pride I feel knowing Judy Kahn and loving her and her loving me, it's easier to handle these taunts. But still, there are some that surprise you and hurt you. I know she's rooting for me, and she'd be happy that I'm doing it for her, and she'd be happy I'm doing it for myself.
Now, if you want to send a message of support to Marsha as she goes through this court battle, just to live in a place free from discrimination and hatred, there is a page on Lambda Legal's website, which is lambdalegal.org/Marsha, and you can go and send her a message. I've already done that. So
that's really nice.
We'll put a link and you can do that. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the clock here and I'm thinking we may run right up to our guests here because I don't know that we're going to be able to squeeze in the Florida Man stuff before 9 o'clock.
Well, Florida Man can always roll over.
Right.
I mean, there'll always be Florida Man.
Or what we might be able to do. I mean, we'll do the next 2 stories, but they're pretty quick. Or what we might be able to do is start the Florida Man thing, do our interview, and come back to it.
Yeah.
So, the next story. Think marriage equality is safe? Bermuda just became the first government to rescind marriage rights from gays and lesbians. Same-sex couples had been able to marry in Bermuda since Charles Etta Simmons, a judge on the Bermuda Supreme Court, ruled in favor of the issue of May 2017. Last year, Bermuda Parliament approved the Domestic Partnership Act 2017, which allows same-sex couples to enter into domestic partnerships rather than actual marriage. And now Bermuda's Governor John Rankin signed that bill into law. So, if you wonder why we fight for the addition of gender identity and expression, the addition of sexual orientation into the Fair Housing Act for this woman, into the non-discrimination employment guidelines. That's it. Because if it's not enshrined in law, it can easily be, and even if it is, it can be turned. But if it has been written into law, at the very least, there is some protection there that requires more work to be done to overturn a thing, right? Where you have a Supreme Court ruling, and here in the States, you look at the Trump administration, the evangelicals who are supporting him and propping him up are just drooling for the Supreme Court to get one more Neil Gorsuch on the bench so that they can revisit the abortion debate and overturn the way we handle those things here in this country.
Right.
In a little bit of brighter news, here's our upward climb, folks. Walgreens has instituted a new policy that protects employees and customers from discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity or gender expression and presentation. You remember the Target bathroom policy change that everybody lost their fucking minds about?
Who doesn't remember that?
Who doesn't remember?
So Walgreens has basically followed in their footsteps.
Good for you, Walgreens.
This comes after an incident last summer when a woman was denied access to the women's room at a Los Angeles store. Jessie Meehan stopped into that store on her way to LA Pride last year, and when she asked to use a restroom, was told she'd only be able to use the men's restroom because she, quote, looked like a man.
Oh, my God.
She engaged with the ACLU representatives at Pride that day. Like, she goes to Pride, bumps into the ACLU table, and is like, hey, I need to tell you about a thing that happened to me on the way to the forum.
That's wild.
So then the ACLU sits down and works with Walgreens, and they create this new policy. Quote, all individuals have a right to use the restroom facilities that correspond to the individual's gender identity, regardless of the individual's sex assigned at birth. It also specifies employees' rights regarding harassment with respect to gender identity, expression, and sexual orientation. The company states they will also soon be issuing what they call gender transition guidelines for the workplace to support transgender individuals who work there. Which I think is absolutely fucking awesome. All right, let's start the Florida Man. And we'll have to come back to it.
Okay.
Because there's not enough time.
So the first segment of the Florida Man.
Yes.
I live for this.
Last week, Last week we started a thing that I don't know if it's going to take or not. I printed out a bracket. I don't know how they work.
Oh gosh, I don't know how they work.
No, I promoted Russell.
It sounds like me doing homework with the Venn diagram for the freaking reading comprehension.
That was not a Venn diagram.
No,
though.
it was not.
You would have recognized that.
I totally would have known what a Venn diagram was. That was not.
You'll need to tell me later.
It was, I'll show you. I took a picture of it. I'll show you. It was so stupid.
So anyway, we promoted Russell to the sports director of the show, so he's going to handle that.
Did you see his comment?
Just did, yes.
Oh, by the way, he's not going to be happy with your decision. But you know what? In the end of the day, it's your show, so do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly.
Girl.
Okay, so again, in about 15 minutes, we're going to connect with Ethan and talk about how we can help shine a spotlight onto some of the problems with religion that we often talk about here on the show. But before that, we'll start our Florida Man thing. So first, last week's voting results. For the Florida Man, we had airplane thief fail and naked apartment tenant.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay? You remember these?
Yes.
I don't have the audio queued up, so I can't revisit
it's all good.
them.
I remember.
When I last checked the polls, they were tied.
For these two stories.
Yeah.
No way.
Russell says, email me a copy and I'll fix it.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So I'm going to stand by on that one until I see where that goes. The other side, we had Canadian cannabis cops and Tennessee man mad about Google Home not knowing Jesus. Clear winner in this one, very surprising to me, cannabis cops.
Oh,
nice. Yeah, by a hefty margin they won.
Oh, well, you know what? I think that was the one that I voted for. I'll have to go back and listen.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
Pretty sure that was mine.
There were only two people that voted with me for the Google Home. Okay, so anyway, so today we're going to start with these two stories. The best stories start with
Florida Man.
Florida man was putting marijuana up his ass during a traffic stop.
Holy what?
During a traffic stop, Sebastian police smelled a strong odor of marijuana and ordered 22-year-old Andrea Cypress out of his vehicle. When the officer searched Cypress, he located a bag in his groin area. He was ordered to remove the bag, and as he was reaching near his butt, the bag disappeared. He gave several different stories to police about what happened to that bag, including, quote, it fell and was still in the car, end quote, but ultimately admitted that the cannabis was in his ass. While being transported, While being transported, the officers discovered that the bag had been removed from the anal cavity. During another search, the officer said Cypress spontaneously offered that he took the bag out of his butt, and it's all on the back seat. Cypress was released on a $6,000 bond. $6,000.
I mean, it would have been cheaper to throw your $40 baggie out the window.
Right?
But nope, got to put up that butt.
Is that what a baggie costs today?
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just estimating.
I don't know.
Shit.
Is that like... Is that really that common? Like, I think you hear about it, but then you think like, oh, that's just... That can't be a common thing. I plead the fifth.
I'm not going to tell you what I know, but I don't know.
I've never personally known anyone to do it.
No.
But
right.
But it happens.
But
I've heard some stories.
Okay, so there's your first story. The second story tonight. A Florida woman was arrested on charges of aggravated battery for throwing a shelf at her boyfriend while arguing during the Super Bowl. The 60-year-old woman, Cheryl Merrill, can't make this shit up.
Cheryl Merrill. Fuck yes. Yeah. Get it, Cheryl.
Oh my gosh.
Cheryl became enraged while arguing about who would win the Super Bowl with her boyfriend of 5 years. Deputies described Merrill as extremely intoxicated and disobeyed orders to remain in the cul-de-sac while deputies investigated. At one point, she got into her car and started the engine and had to be forcibly removed from the vehicle. At the time that I wrote this, earlier this week, she was still in the St. Johns County Jail on $6,000 bond for her aggravated battery charge. The boyfriend, I'm sure you're all wondering, had a swollen hand but refused medical treatment. Due to his hand injury, he was unable to sign an affidavit.
No.
Oh my God.
That bad?
It was that bad. Now, before we vote, I want to mention something that I hope that you all picked up on this. Am I the only one that noticed that a 22-year-old black guy with a bag of weed gets held on the exact same bond amount as the old white lady for assault?
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Like 6,000.
6,000.
For both of those things.
Right. Baggie
There's
of
a
weed.
little, yeah. Yeah.
Assault.
But weed is bad,
Can
kids.
we please decriminalize already?
Please.
That's what I thought last night when Andrea made bad life choices. And I said, beer, liquor. And I woke up today and said, why is alcohol legal right now?
Right? You could have just gotten high and you'd have been fine today.
Yeah, I would be fine.
Yeah.
But no, it's bad. It's bad.
You probably
Drugs
would have
are bad.
slept really good last night, too.
I would have slept way better, you guys.
All right.
But again, I don't know.
So your choices for this round are
Yikes.
cannabis, cannabis, or Super Bowl shelf full.
You're not nearly as funny as you think you are.
Oh, whatever.
But you're pretty. So it's okay.
Here's a little pretty.
All right, vote. Who you voting for?
I don't know.
Cannabis.
Cannabis?
Hands down. Butts down. Butts.
I don't know. There's something about a
Weed.
little old lady going off
Yeah.
over the Super Bowl that kind of makes me think,
So-
did it happen in Polk County?
Probably. Did she take the
That
shelf
was
off the wall?
St. John's County? Yeah.
I don't know.
Where'd she
I
get the
kind of
shelf?
like the little old lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Russell is in for ass weed.
Of course
Ass
he
weed.
is.
Ass
Why are we
number
not?
one.
Why are we surprised at that?
Okay. I'm gonna go with the weed guy.
Yes. You always go with the weed guy.
All right.
Oh, we were going with them? Oh, then I'll go with him. But I thought we were voting for which was the funnier story.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Would you rather?
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm
gonna get
gonna
ducked
try
for
to.
shelf.
I'm gonna try to squeeze through the next two stories.
Okay.
So on the opposite side of the board this week, we have the following two stories, both international contenders this week.
Whoa.
An Italian man was discovered with 1,260 pound stash of old mail. No, it was not in the floorboard of his Jeep Wrangler. The 56-year-old mailman had been collecting people's utility bills, bank statements, old phone books, and political propaganda mailings for the past 8 years.
What? Where was this?
This is Italy.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Police said they were tipped off when 25 large yellow containers full of old mail showed up at the recycling center. The nearly half-ton stash of mail found in his Vincenza home was the biggest seizure of mail ever undertaken in Italy.
What the?
And you thought the U.S. Postal Service was bad.
Oh my god.
Don't send any mail to Italy. Gosh.
1,200 what?
1,260 pounds of mail.
Pounds.
Pounds.
So
Like
we're not
in
talking
weight.
individual letters. Like this is
Just how much it
weight.
weighed.
Holy crap. That's a lot of mail.
That's what do you need with somebody's utility bill?
I guess he was just a bad mailman. Like, oh shit, didn't finish my route today. I guess I'll put the leftovers in the garage.
Right? Like, oh.
I mean, wow. 8 years. Whatever.
8 years.
I mean, if you went that long without being caught.
Oh
Good
my,
for him.
that's crazy.
Yep.
Okay, what do you got? Top it.
A Scottish man frantically called police to his farm. This is the winner, obviously.
Already.
A Scottish man frantically called police to his farm upon discovering a tiger in his cow barn.
Oh my.
Bruce Grubb got the fright of his life Saturday when, during a housewarming party with his girlfriend and friends, he went out to the barn to check on some pregnant cows. Authorities contacted local wildlife parks and made sure no tigers had escaped. Armed officers arrived at the scene and a 45-minute standoff ensued with the tiger.
Okay, wait a minute.
Standoff. Was it violent?
The police came armed.
Yep. So
What
he
were
goes.
they gonna do?
Listen, he goes into the barn, right?
Right, yeah.
He sees
Get
a
it.
tiger
I
in between two
I
cow
understand
pens.
what happens.
What do you think he's gonna like? They're gonna shoot it, I
Right.
guess.
But why would you shoot a
Tranquilizer.
tiger?
I don't.
Right. Well,
to protect the
Gosh,
cows.
in America, we call Fish and Wildlife
right. I was going to say, don't call the cops.
or
What are
the
they gonna
park
do?
ranger, and they come out with a horse tranquilizer
Right.
and take the tiger back to the
Listen,
zoo.
it's Scotland, for fuck's sake.
Where did the tiger come from?
Was the tiger wearing a kilt?
No.
Oh, yeah. He had
Darn
the
it.
sash and a little
In
hat.
fact, there were photos posted to
Was his
social
name
media.
Tony or
No, they showed the orange predator sitting on what looked like a ramp between two cow pens. Ultimately, while armed officers were on scene, they were not deployed, you'll be happy to know.
Okay.
They were not even required. After some concern when the animal hadn't moved for nearly an hour, Farmer Grubb drove up to it with his truck to discover a life-size stuffed tiger
Oh my
toy.
fucking God.
So they stared at it for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you
Like,
freaking... What the...
Wow.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Very
How
low-key.
drunk was this Scotsman?
No, he was high.
And the police? No, they drink there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The police, were they drunk too?
Listen.
Were they hanging out with Andrea last night?
Oh.
Grubb, who felt a bit silly for calling the police, said he had no idea how the stuffed tiger ended up on his farm or if someone had played a prank on him.
Obviously, somebody did.
Police took the tiger after the incident, and Grubb said they wanted to keep it as a mascot.
Oh my gosh.
That's cute.
In a statement Tuesday, Police Scotland said, quote, "It's true, our officers had a roaring shift Saturday night," end quote.
Oh my God. So now is the tiger at Scotland Yard?
Yes.
Oh, the Scotland yacht. Oh, God. Yeah, they better bring him everywhere they go.
Not strong competitors this week, I don't think, on the opposite side of the board here.
Not really. I mean, hilarious, but no.
Right. So your
Right.
choices for this set are 8 years of mail hidden in an Italian mailman's garage or the Scottish Cat-Astrophe.
They're on it today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, catastrophe.
Yeah.
Cat ass.
Cat-Astrophe.
Ass. It was good.
Yeah, I vote for the cat.
Yeah, everybody's on board with the
I mean, how stupid is that?
right?
I love the 45-minute standoff part of that.
45
Yes.
minutes
That's
standoff
45
with a
minutes they
stuffed
stared at
fucking
this-
animal.
Yes.
Right,
the
like... I just can't even. Good for them, though.
Like, I mean,
what is
I'd
it
love
called?
to see what these cops would do if there was a hostage situation in a Toys R Us.
Right?
Look, there's so many stuffed tigers. Oh my God, that's a movie waiting to
Is
happen.
that American Doll staring at me?
That'll be Super Troopers
American
3.
Girl Doll?
Yeah. That American Girl doll staring at me.
That baby doll's eyes just blinked and it burped.
Jesus.
And pooped.
All right. So, there you go. We'll put the polls up on the Facebook group.
Tony
and
in
the
a
Twitter.
kilt is Russell's vote.
Tony in a kilt. So we'll put those up in the Facebook group and the on the Twitter, and see what you guys think, and we'll
So good.
put it on the board, and eventually maybe it'll
Turn into something.
turn into something. Otherwise, it's fun to do every week, and what the hell?
I like it.
Yeah.
Who cares if it doesn't turn into anything, right? All right, so we're coming up on the hour here, and we need to throw this to a break so that we can get our guest on the line. I do have, is it one more story that I wanted to get into? So we might save this. We might save this and come back to it, or I might just kick it to next week. We'll see. I don't know. It's not that great. It's Gloria Copeland. Kenneth Copeland's wife, talking about how you don't need flu shots because you have Jesus.
Oh,
Jesus
no,
Jesus is your flu shot.
Definitely, we should
Jesus
talk
is
about
in me.
that.
So I'll either save, I don't know, I'll save that for next week maybe, or we'll come back to
We'll
it.
see how we're
We'll see.
doing. Yeah.
So let's take a quick break here. We'll come back with our guest and talk about abuses of the faith. Yeah, and I'm going to read, I plan to read as part of this, an actual letter uncovered from a backroom Jehovah's Witness interview about sexual abuse. So there's your content warning. If you need to skip the rest of this, then I won't hold it against you.
You won't hold what against them?
That they skipped the rest of the show
Oh,
because they need to not hear about. Got it?
got it.
Okay, we'll be back after this.
Sorry.
First card. As I look at the set I placed down for you, I see an interesting things rising. Some of it has to deal with love and money and changes, and hopefully they're going to be for the better. Now your first card represents your situation, maybe some problems you've been having, maybe a little bit about yourself. Your first card is sorrow. This card is letting us know that there is some type of disruption in your life. Not that it's a big deal, but this card is giving off a strange vibe of anxiety. Actually, this card is warm in my hand. Oh, now caller, if you listen here, I'm seeing in the cards. Oh, yes, the 45 of mangoes. The 45 of mangoes card says you're going to go on to Patreon and subscribe because there's nothing better than giving when receiving. What will you ask me? Find out now and I see for you. Call me now for a free tarot reading.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help. I asked for help.
I asked my teacher. I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's important to buckle up your kids.
I know.
Sometimes car seats can be complicated.
I know.
And if your child's in the wrong seat and you get into a crash,
I know.
it could lead to a serious injury.
I know.
So you're 100% sure you have the right car seat for your child's age and size?
I don't know.
Don't think you know. Know you know. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Make sure you have the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
In today's health-conscious society, you have many beverage choices. But do you know what's in all of them? So much sugar, sodium, and things you can't even pronounce. Dihydrogen monoxide. What's that? Sometimes you wish you just had a simple, more elegant solution for your beverage needs. Introducing H2O, the first ever chemical-free thirst quencher. H2O is simple, simply composed of 3 portions of 2 elements, hydrogen and oxygen. H2O means chemical-free, unlike water, which is filled with all sorts of shit. When we tested H2O, we found traces of no other elements. So pure, the bottle may as well be fucking empty, with all the same nutritional content as a breath of cool mountain air. First widely featured on Goop.com, actress Gwyneth Paltrow revealed that she exclusively uses H2O for her vaginal steaming process. After all, why use water when you can steam it with H2O? So now we invite you to run out to your local garden hose and drink that shit. Remember, it's not water, it's H2O.
H2O bottled by Flint Bottling Company in Flint, Michigan. Product not actually endorsed by Goop or Gwyneth Paltrow. Please do not use H2O for vaginal steaming, or better yet, please do not steam your vagina. H2O is actually just water. Water is a set of molecular compounds. It's a chemical. Everything is a chemical.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hello, would you like to change religions? I have a free book written by Jesus!
Oh my god, that was amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. We will be taking offers for legal services for our impending lawsuit.
It's all good.
We'll also
for copyright infringement.
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
All right, we are joined for this segment by Ethan Dodge, one of the founders of the Truth and Transparency Foundation. We're going to find out all about that organization and the things that they are doing. Ethan, welcome to SarahTalk.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are extremely excited to get into this, and we'll talk kind of more in detail here too, because we have not necessarily like personal connections to these sorts of atrocities, but certainly 2 or 3 steps away.
Right.
But first, before we do that, why don't we talk about just kind of like your journey? You were born and raised in Utah and grew up in the kind of an Orthodox Mormon faith, right? That like there in the literal Mormon Holy Land. What was that like?
Yeah. I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. We moved to Provo, Utah, which is even more Mormon, when I was like 2 years old. And that's where I grew up. I grew up thinking that I was extremely blessed to be born directly into the truth, right? And now I'm just like, what the fuck were the chances that I was born into an Orthodox family in Utah?
Right.
Right. So, but I mean, yeah, I definitely grew up in a bubble. I grew up, everybody in my high school, I have no official statistics, but I feel comfortable saying that about 95% of the students at my high school were also Mormon, right? And thus it was expected of everybody else to keep the exact same standards, and then if you didn't, there was some social shaming and whatnot, so it was a pretty toxic environment. And also like a very shameful environment. And I felt that way, and I was total like goody two shoes Mormon boy, right? So I can't imagine how other people that openly questioned their beliefs or openly chose to not obey the Mormon standard, I can't imagine how they felt. And hopefully they were confident with themselves. But I'm sure there were a good chunk of them that they were confident enough with themselves so they didn't care, which good for them. I wish I would have been that strong when I was their age.
Yeah.
Right? But,
we often look at like people who are deeply devout in whatever their faith is, and this is one of those street epistemology conversations that you have with people about, well, okay, so you were born in Salt Lake City, Utah. Do you think if you had been born in Ghana that you would have been a Mormon? Do you think if you'd been born in Great Britain, you would have, you know what I mean? Like, so for a lot of people, just being born in America equals Christian of some variant, and I think that was certainly true for me. But yeah, that's one of those things that like, when you're growing up in it, you just don't even think to ask about that. You don't even think about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and the Mormon doctrine literally teaches. They're kind of stepping away from this, so I might get a couple messages in my inbox saying the Mormon Church doesn't teach this. But I grew up being taught that I was more valiant in what Mormons call the pre-existence or the premortal life, which is where we were all in heaven with God and Jesus before coming down here to earth. And because I was more valiant, that's why I was placed into the truth, right? That's why I was born into a Mormon family in Utah and was raised Mormon. And so supposedly, like less valiant souls were not, right? But the thing is, Mormons teach that everybody that came to earth chose to follow Jesus before ever being born, and that Satan had a bunch of followers. In fact, they call him a third. Like there were tons and tons of people, and 2/3 of them chose to follow Jesus, and 1/3 of them chose to follow Satan, and those people that followed Satan never came here to earth. That's what Mormon doctrine teaches.
Wow.
That's incredible. Never knew
that.
that.
Never knew that.
Well, that's actually that's a great lead into the next thing I have to ask. And that is that I guess we should kind of cover some like LDS 101, the mechanics of the church, because there are some really unique things that your basic Protestant Christian doesn't get. Like, and having been raised in one of those kinds of churches myself, like we weren't taught about anyone else's religion, of course. And I know we have some listeners out there that probably don't know. Let's start with the bishop interviews. I'm deeply curious about. So you have things like the sacrament, which is, I guess, kind of like what we called communion. Baptism, that's pretty standard faith thing. And then there's the temple. And in order to like level up your character and get access to these things, you have to go before the bishop. Paint that picture for us. Like, what is that like?
So it's I mean, you hit some really key elements there, the sacrament and baptism and whatnot. Mormon kids get baptized at age 8, and just before they get baptized, they have to go before the bishop, and the bishop asks them a series of questions. And for the most part, like we could get into, there's a current movement around an activist movement around these bishop interviews because of some of the content. I'll preface this right now that I personally never had a negative experience with my bishop, but tons and tons of other people have, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to go off what my experience was, and then we could deep dive into some negative experiences that other people had. But so I go in, I'm just about to turn 8 years old. The bishop asked me, do I believe in God? Do I believe in Jesus? Do I believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet, which is absolutely key in the Mormon religion, right? Mm-hmm. If you can't answer yes, I believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet, then there's most likely going to be some concern from your bishop. Some bishops might be like, well, do you want to believe? And they might be a little more nuanced, right? But for the most part, every bishop that I had growing up would have been very concerned had I answered no, right?
But at 8 years old, so, if you've been brought up in this faith and like you've been told like literally your entire life, this is what we believe, like. Do you even think about, is there any doubt in your mind? Like, nope, that's what I've been taught. So at 8 years old, are you equipped with the mental faculties to even question that?
Absolutely not. At least I was not, right?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like that was my personal experience. I know tons of people that claim to say, yeah, I mean, I just kind of did it going through the motions, and I didn't actually believe, or to be honest with you, like when I was 7 years old, I didn't grasp the implication of what that meant, that Joseph Smith was a prophet and that he restored Jesus's church on the earth. Like as a 7-year-old, like I have no idea what the hell that means.
It's word
that
salad
implies in my life.
Yeah, it's
7-year-olds
total word salad.
Typically still believe in Santa Claus. They believe anything that an adult tells them if it's a trusted adult.
True.
So, yeah.
You're not challenging like your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, it is what it is. Wow.
Yeah, precisely. And so, anyway, so you go through that worthiness interview, and that's what they're called, is worthiness interviews, typically. That's not like an official name, but...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's not like an official name, but that is definitely how they were referred to as I was growing up.
All right.
Anyway, and then when you turn 12, the boys, they receive the priesthood at age 12, and then the girls, they don't, which is problematic. Mm-hmm. But that's another topic. But either way, once you turn 12, you then begin these worthiness interviews with the bishop once a year. Because starting at age 12, you can also enter the temple, but both boys and girls can then enter the temple, which, as Sarah was saying, is kind of a rite, a passage within the Mormon Church. At age 12, you could only the temple is very interesting, and there are different like rituals and ordinances that you can do. And at age 12, there's only one that you can do, and that's called baptisms for the dead, which I'm not sure if you all have heard of it, but
please go into this. This is crazy. Please carry on.
Yeah. So Mormons believe that everybody, no matter who you are, is going to have the opportunity to hear the gospel and have a chance to accept it, whether that happens in this life or the next life, right? And obviously there are billions of people that have lived that have never even heard of Mormonism, never even heard of Jesus Christ, right? And Mormon doctrine teaches that they will have the opportunity to hear the gospel in the next life, and so we have to perform baptisms and their ordinances for them in the temple, and then they will have the opportunity to accept those ordinances on the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yikes.
Right.
I thought,
and you thought your cult was
my
crazy?
cult was crazy. Exactly. Holy shit.
Yeah, and we actually, so I'm involved with the project MormonLeaks, and recently we leaked, we released information that showed that somebody in the church had baptized Donald Trump's grandparents.
Oh, good Lord.
And that, and a few years ago, the church actually got in huge trouble for baptizing Holocaust victims.
Whoa!
Oh my God!
Yeah, they got in huge trouble for that. But something actually was just released from another individual that showed that some members of the church are still doing it, and the church has not put in safeguards to ensure that does not happen anymore. Because the thing is, any rank and file member of the Mormon Church can go into, if you guys are familiar with FamilySearch.org, that's owned by the Mormon Church, and that's actually where you go to prepare names to go into the temple, right? You can go in, find all your ancestors, and prepare their names to receive all the ordinances and rituals in the temple. And the thing is, there's nothing stopping me from typing in some random name, right, and preparing that name, right? And so when people say that the Mormon Church is baptizing Holocaust victims, it would be more accurate to say that members of the Mormon Church are going out of their way to do that.
Right.
But the thing is, the Mormon Church, as far as we know, is not putting safeguards in place to prevent that. Right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
So if you don't condemn it, then you condone it, right? But
right. Yeah.
That's
right.
kind of what I live by. So anyway, so yeah, when you're from age 12 to age 18, you have a worthiness interview with the bishop at least once a year. And then perhaps even more so if you get like a specific assignment.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if you're like your class president in the church, which I was a couple of times, I would have worthiness interviews more frequently because I would have to have a worthiness interview when they extended me that assignment, and then also I would meet with the bishop regularly while in that capacity, right? And the problem with these interviews is, like I said, there are some basic questions, and the first ones are always like, do you believe in God and Jesus Christ, and do you believe that Joseph Smith is a prophet and that he restored Jesus' church? And then you get into like more specific questions like, do you keep the word of wisdom, which is a weird way which is a weird name that Mormons have given this commandment that came from Joseph Smith that says that they'll abstain from drugs and alcohol, basically, and coffee and tea. Right?
Whoa!
I can't. I'm out. Nope. I'm out.
Coffee
Just
and
a
tea.
coffee, right?
So
Just a coffee.
I shit you not, I didn't have coffee until I was like, for the first time when I was 18, and I felt a little rebellious. I'm not even kidding. Like, I felt a little rebellious, so I thought I'd drink some coffee. And then I did not drink for the first time until I was 25 years old.
Oh my gosh! And did you like lose your mind at how amazing it is, or are you one of those coffee people that you don't like coffee?
Oh, I hate coffee. It's so disgusting.
Yeah, it works out.
But my wife loves it though, but I just can't. I much prefer tea.
Yeah, tea's great
but,
too.
You know,
but
I never liked coffee either, and then I figured out what I have to put in it to make it nice. I find that Bailey's really perks it up a little bit.
Or chocolate wine.
Yeah, I could get behind that. If I have coffee, I mean, it's got to be like a Starbucks mocha where you can't even taste the coffee.
Yeah. So we talk about, like, I mean, that seems absurd just on its own, right? Like baptizing the dead, right?
I'm really curious about those worthiness interview.
We're gonna get deeper into that, yeah. Right. But first, like, just, you know, as an outsider looking in at how kind of crazy all this stuff is, and I don't know that we mentioned this yet, but my wife Becca here grew up in a Jehovah's Witness organization, so like she's got firsthand cult experience too, but even like through all of that stuff, like when I look at Mormonism, it's just so weird to me. So I think like it's fair to describe the outsider perception as being something like, well, Joe found some rocks in the backyard, stuck his head in a hat to read them, wink, wink, and declared another New Testament of Jesus Christ. And not only did they not lock him up in a padded cell, but people like believed this shit and created a religion out of it. If that's the outsider perspective, and I'm exaggerating greatly, but you know what I mean? Like, if that's the... At what point were you exposed to that? Like, at what point did they pump you up with a persecution complex? If people are going to say that what we believe is crazy, like, is that part of the stuff that you learned growing up?
Yeah. Like, Mormons have, well, okay, I don't like to generalize, but I'm going to right now.
Yeah.
Most Mormons have an incredible persecution complex. Because, and like, if you look at Mormon history, for the most part, rightly so. I mean, the Mormons were not treated very nicely wherever they went in the early days of the church.
Right.
I mean, they were
chased out of town everywhere.
The governor of Missouri, the governor of Missouri legit wrote, like, I don't know if extermination order is the right word, but basically it was to shoot a Mormon on the spot in the state of Missouri.
Right.
And that actually was not rescinded until recently, like in the past few decades.
Wow, no
But,
way.
Yeah, and then with the whole reason that they came to Utah was to escape the laws of the U.S. government so that they can practice freely, because polygamy was quite a big thing by the time they did that. So anyway, so Mormons do have a persecution complex, and I absolutely was taught, like, people are going to say all this stuff, and it's just anti-Mormon. You know, anti-Mormon. As soon as the church or anybody in a leadership position within the church labeled something as anti-Mormon, I knew immediately that it was just I shouldn't pay attention to it, right? Now me, my activism, I am labeled anti-Mormon all the time, and I'm like, I'm not anti-Mormon. Like, I still have friends and family that I love very much that are Mormon, and like I associate with them very well, and we get along, and everything's great. But like, I am not anti-Mormon anyway. So as soon as something is labeled anti-Mormon, like, they will not. Mormons are just trained to not look at it, and to the extent that, for instance, you brought up Joseph Smith finding a couple rocks and then writing the Book of Mormon with them, right? And which I grew up not knowing. I absolutely did not know that was the case.
Wow. You hadn't leveled up yet enough. You hadn't reached the right level.
No.
You have to find the master sword first, and then they'll teach you about Joseph Smith.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the first thing you learn.
The narrative that the church tells you is that Joseph was given these gold plates, right, by this angel named Moroni, and they were written in an ancient language, and then he translated them through the power of God, right? And that is how we got the Book of Mormon, because the Book of Mormon is supposedly written by ancient prophets that lived here on the American continent during the same time as the Bible, right? That's the whole premise behind the Book of Mormon. And I served a Mormon mission in Guatemala, and I taught people that, like, I showed them a picture of Joseph Smith with golden plates translating the Book of Mormon, and a scribe sitting there and dictating the words that he said. Like, that is how that it was the same picture that I always saw growing up, right? And then the internet happened to the Mormon Church, and they couldn't keep that stuff a secret anymore, and so they decided that it would be better for people to hear the truth from them, and so they started coming out with what they called the essays, the gospel topic essays, that address these exact things, and they have one that straight up says Joseph Smith did put two rocks in a hat, and claimed that the words of the Book of Mormon appeared to him on the rocks, right? And I'm like reading this shit, and I feel so betrayed. Because not only did I grow up believing this, believing otherwise, but I taught other people the other narrative that I grew up believing.
Wow.
Right? Like, to me personally, that was the most betraying thing that I learned. to other people everybody has like their dagger, you know, that like hurt them the most. For me, that was it.
Wow.
So, but anyway, so back to my point about anti-Mormonism, like Mormons are so trained that as soon as some information is labeled anti-Mormon, to not even look at it, to the point where some of my very Orthodox Mormon friends and family won't even read these gospel topic essays, even though they're on the church's website.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Because they've just been so conditioned that information is anti-Mormon and can damage their beliefs.
Right. Like, how do you say, look, the internet is bad. Information is out there and it's all wrong. It's all fake news. It's the devil trying to, turn you. Except our website. Our website, that's fine. That one's safe. You can go to that.
I've heard that story before. Hold on. Where did I? Oh, yeah. The Jehovah's Witnesses do the same exact thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild. It's crazy.
So you talked a little bit about the kind of the difference in the way the church handles like gender roles. Do you want to speak to the patriarchy a little bit? Maybe describe this purity culture, this chastity culture that the church has?
Yeah. To me, this is one of the saddest aspects of the Mormon church and actually religion in general. There's a movement within the Mormon church called Ordained Women. And they try and do they advocate for exactly what the name says, to ordain women to the priesthood. And I sympathized with this movement before I left the church. And because the gender roles within Mormonism are just so out of whack. It's not even funny. Like it's plain sad. And in fact, I mean, I won't tell too much of my wife's story because it's her story to tell, but she also has left Mormonism, and she is struggling with she's a very intelligent person, and she's always felt that, and she's always felt very accomplished, but she was told her whole life that her place was in the home and to have kids, right? And then that's what she did, and it did not bring her the happiness that she thought it was going to. And now that she's left, she feels like she's wasted 10 years of her life where she could have been pursuing a career, right? And luckily she's taken action to take her life back into her own hands, right? But obviously it would have been so much better had it happened 10 years ago, right? Anyway, yeah. It's not really too different from most other Christian and other religions, right? Where men are seen as better, right? Whether they like to admit it or not. I mean, sexism is so ingrained into our everyday secular society. Like, take religion out of the fact. Like, and you're talking to anybody on the street or at work, no matter what the hell their religion is. Like, sexism exists everywhere, and then it's even worse in pretty much any given religion, right?
Yeah.
Again, that's a generalization, and there are some religions that do much better, but Mormonism is not one of them.
So, if there's two things two actions that Mormons, I think, are probably best known for, it's missions and door-to-door service. Again, we mentioned Becca is an ex-Jehovah's Witness. So we've talked about some of her field service experience going door-to-door. I'd imagine it's probably kind of pretty similar for Mormons.
Yeah. Actually, so as I said, I served in Guatemala, and I actually ran into Jehovah's Witnesses all the time down there. Like, we'd be like knocking the doors on
okay, hold on. I just had this image of like,
oh gosh,
sharks.
Oh my
sharks.
God.
It's like West Side Story up in here.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You're out of control.
Well, it's funny because we usually that happened to me maybe like 4 or 5 times, and like 2 or 3 of those times the Jehovah's Witnesses just saw us and like went to another street.
Oh, they knew.
Which yeah. And anyway, so there was actually a point in my mission where I stopped going door to door because I realized that it was less effective than just talking to people on the street. For me, I had much more success in my mission talking to people as they were passing me, and that was actually something that we were told to do. I don't know. I can't say if the whole church as a whole is like going away from door to door and encouraging their missionaries to speak to people that they pass on the street. But my mission, we were definitely told to do that rather than knock door to door. And I personally had a lot more success doing that. But I mean, you started off with that line from the Book of Mormon musical, which I immediately cracked up laughing because
I love
that musical.
It's the best.
It really is. Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah, so funny. I went and saw it on Broadway last year, and I was cracking up. And I was cracking up, but at the same time, parts of me was like, I was like getting so pissed off, especially during the "Turn It Off" song. The gay missionary was like. Yeah. Turn it off like a light bulb. I was getting so fucking pissed as I was listening to that song because that's the rhetoric that I grew up with my whole life. Like there's an analogy in the ex-Mormon community that whenever you had a doubt, that was like a book that you just put up on your bookshelf, right? Like just ignore that. That's okay. It'll be addressed later, right? When Jesus comes again, we'll know the answers to everything, right? And eventually, you get so many books up there that it would just crack, and that's when you left Mormonism, right? That's the analogy,
right?
And that kind of rhetoric. Like there's actually a mantra in the church that Orthodox Mormons absolutely love, and ex-Mormons drive us fucking bonkers. Is doubt your doubts before you doubt your beliefs.
Oh Jesus!
Fuck no.
Yeah,
that's rough, man.
Yikes!
Wow. The mental gymnastics required for that.
That's not right.
You had a thought.
For some reason, I remembered this, and I haven't thought about this in years. But when I was a kid, my dad was an elder in our congregation, and we had these Mormons that would come through our neighborhood all the time. And my dad was one of these guys. When you said that the Jehovah's Witnesses would just leave, my dad wasn't like that. He would talk to anybody about his beliefs anytime, but he would invite them in. And he'd give them a glass of water, and they'd sit on the couch and talk for hours. And they always came back, and it was the funniest thing, because I remember, I was like a teenager, and I was like, oh, they're really cute. I'm going to just sit here.
Oh, my God.
And so I don't know. I would use that excuse, I'm just going to sit here and be a part of this conversation. And I'd count my time, but I was only there because the boys were cute.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
Oh, man, let me tell you, as a Mormon missionary, so that happened to me a couple times where Jehovah's Witness, I had no idea this person was a Jehovah's Witness, and they'd invite me in because most of the time they wanted a Bible bash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they wanted to talk about Joseph Smith.
They were counting time.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were logging their hours.
They have to log hours. So
Yeah, you're probably that's probably exactly right. But actually, to tell you the truth, the first time I had ever heard that the Book of Mormon translation process was different from what I grew up believing was from a Jehovah's Witness on my mission.
Wow.
Yeah. And when he said that, when he said that Joseph Smith had like a pair of magic glasses and a couple of rocks, like me and my companion, we looked at each other and we're like, let's get out of here. Just like, we've got to go. I'm sorry. And so we left.
Wow.
And actually, just a quick story about story about Jehovah's Witnesses on my mission. I was a self-righteous little bastard, and I thought for sure that I could waste any Jehovah's Witness in a Bible bash. But man, I mean, you guys know your Bible. Let's get real here. At least you know your version of the Bible.
Right.
But which is actually, I went into a Kingdom Hall one time as a Mormon missionary.
God, and you didn't set yourself. You didn't combust. You didn't light on fire.
On fire or melt at the sight of the.
Well, so me and my companion, we walked into the Kingdom Hall, and they're all there. Like they were like they weren't like in a meeting. They were like getting prepared for like some activity. They were like decorating or something. But there was a lot of them there, like a couple dozen. we walk in and everything goes quiet and they all look at us.
Oh, weird.
And I was all like, I'm here to buy a Bible.
Nice.
Oh, it's great.
Oh,
man.
And
they were like, and then a bunch of them got really excited. They're like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, Mormon missionaries. And then they came up, and then the one guy, I mean, they were all super nice, right? And they sold me a Bible, and I said, they're like, let us know if you want us to come talk to you or anything. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no
you
thanks.
can't do that anymore. You go into a Kingdom Hall and ask for a Bible.
Yeah.
They're like really picky about who they give their Bibles to.
Well, you've had a rash of people go in and like stage.
They're doing like
protests
protests during meetings now. All the XJWs are getting.
They have to be a little safer about who they welcome into the flock.
Somebody comes in they don't recognize, they all kind of huddle around and create a barricade until they know what their intent is.
God.
No, like literally they videotape this shit and put it on YouTube. Like you can go watch it.
It's
for
insane.
serious.
What is going on over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
So I realized that this doesn't even begin to cover Mormon 101, and that was a lot of great information. But hopefully that will give us enough foundation to continue forward here, right? So talk a little bit about, if you would, how you eventually left the church and started this organization.
Yeah, so let's see. So I mentioned before, when I was 18, I was a little rebellious and started drinking coffee.
Did coffee take you from your faith?
Oh, coffee is the devil's bean.
Is the devil.
No. But that was I was a musician in high school and through college, and I played in bands, and I thought I was the shit, and when really I was just a really shitty musician. But
no, we all think that in bands.
And I decided that I did not want to go on a Mormon mission, which male missionaries they now go at age 18. When I went, they went at age 19, but that changed since I've come home from my mission. And when I graduated high school, I pretty much decided I didn't want to go on a mission. I wanted to be a rock star and try and make it big, you know?
Now,
that didn't go over well in your worthiness interview, did it?
But hang on, because isn't that like, you know, again, like when you're looking at Link and his power-ups, like, isn't that on the
all a video game?
Isn't that on the list of like the things that you look forward to? You look forward to being part of the you know, communion, whatever that's called, and you look forward to being part of the death rituals, and like and then I get to go on my mission,
It's
and
your
that's
privileges.
Like yeah, like that.
Absolutely.
Isn't that like the culmination of it all?
Yeah, and it totally is, right? And that, like, there's a song that the kids sing in kids Sunday school at Mormon Church, and it says, let's see, I hope they call me on a mission when I've grown a foot or two. Right? There's like there's songs like that. There's a couple other ones
like that too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and they're like, and it's like totally gearing you up to do exactly what Heavenly Father wants you to.
Here I am, send me was one of ours.
Oh.
Samuel said that or something, and they made a song about when Jehovah calls you to. Yeah. Oh, crazy.
I love it when Jehovah's Witnesses say Jehovah, like Jehovah wants this and stuff like that, because it just sounds so culty. And so I like to I occasionally like to throw out the Mormon term for God, which is Heavenly Father, because it also sounds to me equally as culty, right?
Super culty. Yes.
We only refer to Jehovah as Heavenly Father while in prayer.
Yeah.
Wow.
We refer to him as Heavenly Father. Actually, so the Mormon, here, people will, like, Orthodox Mormons are listening
send
to this.
your hate mail to Ethan at...
I know, right?
No, send it to me, too, because I want to read it. You can see me.
The Mormon name for God that they call him in the temple is actually Elohim.
Right.
And they refer to Jesus as Jehovah in the temple.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked into the
doesn't Elohim go back to the Hebrew?
Is it
Hebrew or Greek? I think it's Hebrew.
Yes, Hebrew.
Yeah.
I recently found out that the name Jehovah was a blunder by a Catholic monk. It's not even a real thing.
Oh, really? That's like most things in religion, just made up by some guy like years ago.
And so I'm like, okay, but apparently they found out and they're keeping it anyway. So
yeah, well, Jesus is a derivative of Joshua, right?
Yeah,
It's a version of Joshua, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's all weird.
Like all those names, it's just a knockoff of, like, I mean, you can spell Tiffany 35 different ways.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. So you started drinking coffee. You're playing in a rock band.
Squirrel.
Yeah. So yeah, I decided I didn't want to go on a mission because I wanted to make it big as a rock star, and that immediately brought on all this guilt, right? Because I grew up singing that song. I hope they call me on a mission, and I was always looking forward to my mission. And as I said, I was kind of like a really goody two shoes Mormon boy, and then all of a sudden I decided, well, I don't want to do that, and so I immediately felt really guilty. And to me, the only way to get rid of the guilt was to stop going to church, right? And so I decided that I didn't want to go to church anymore. And that's when I started drinking coffee, and I smoked pot, and I got tattoo.
We love you.
It's so weird. Just to hear somebody say, so I stopped going to church and started drinking coffee.
I know. I love that.
Yeah,
I love it. But it's like what? Wait a minute. Yes, people, you heard that right.
In the book, in the Book of Mormon musical, when the one missionary is questioning everything he knows, you'll notice he goes to a coffee bar, he goes to a coffee shop.
I never
went over my head.
Up. Yeah.
It went completely
really
over my head.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now we have to go see that.
Really. I'm pretty sure I was the only one in the theater that was laughing at that part because I was the only one.
The one guy,
one guy laughing hysterically up in the mezzanine.
Who had been fuming and yelling obscenities up until that point. Now he's laughing.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
beautiful.
So good.
So anyway, well, long story short, I was pressured immensely by my friends and family to start going to church again, and then and especially from my parents, and I decided to go on a mission, which is a decision that I wholly own. While there was an immense amount of pressure, an immense amount of pressure on me to do so, I did make the decision myself to go on a mission, and I went, and I totally loved my mission. A lot of people hated it, and in hindsight, I would never ever fucking do that thing again because it was the most toxic environment I've ever been on.
Sure.
If the Mormon Church is not a cult, Mormon missions 100% are a cult.
Wow.
Right. It's the rules and the guidelines and the big brother environment, and then also the competition to outdo your fellow missionaries is it's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway,
let me give you a little analogy, a comparison. So even in our sort of watered down version of Christianity, I have a cousin who I'm sure never listens to the show, who did mission work in Haiti for their church and ended up adopting a couple of kids out of that. It was this really strange thing. But I always thought, isn't that it? The humanist in me goes, why can't we go just rebuild your house? Why do we have to say, I'm going to rebuild your house, and while I'm doing that, I need you to read this book and prepare for the quiz.
Right.
We're going to have a quiz at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that at all. Just do good.
Right.
Be good for goodness sake, right?
Yeah, I agree. And it also that's one thing, that's one aspect that I always felt uncomfortable with on my mission is we were encouraged to do service and if we saw people in need to help them out. But then we were also encouraged to immediately after extend an invitation to listen to us. And that always felt kind of dirty to me, even as I was an active missionary, because it's we totally had ulterior motives to helping you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so strange.
Yeah. So anyway, I come home from my mission, I do the Mormon thing, and I get married almost right away.
Mm-hmm.
That's so I dated my wife for 6 weeks. before we were engaged.
Wow.
Not a
you
joke.
move quick.
That's totally Mormon. We were engaged for longer than we dated.
Jeez. Well, it does take a little bit of time to plan a Mormon wedding. I'm sure.
but like dating in the Mormon culture is its own weird, like, odd thing. Like, there.
Did you have to have 2 or 3 chaperones?
Before you're dating, you bring up a good point that dating in the Mormon culture is super weird, especially when you're a teenager, because you're not supposed to date until you're 16. And like I said, in my high school, everybody was Mormon, and so like if you went on a date before you were 16, everybody knew about it. Everybody.
I should have been a Mormon.
Even if it was like the day before your 16th birthday, everybody would know about it.
Oh my God.
I'd be lying about my birthday, but well, you know.
Anyway, so to kind of get more into how I left, my mom actually ended up leaving the church a few years after I got home from my mission, and I felt, and that hurt me a great deal because I did feel a good amount of pressure from her to go on a mission when I originally tried to leave the church the first time.
So, like, while you were gone, she had a crisis of faith and left, or soon after you got back?
It was
something
like
she
2
was
years
struggling.
after I got back.
Oh, okay, all right, okay,
yeah. And so, but what that did was kind of like open up the door for those questions to me again, right? Like, because my mom left, it's always I always like the social pressure to not doubt and not question is slightly less present, right? It's a little bit more acceptable because my mom, anyway, and actually it started out with reading those church essays that I was telling you about at the beginning, right? And finding out that Joseph Smith did not use the gold plates to write the Book of Mormon, and that Joseph Smith practiced polygamy. And well, I do that. I knew that Joseph Smith practiced polygamy, but I did not know that he kept it completely secret from his first wife, and that he married a 14-year-old girl, and that other men on missions and then marry their wives while they were gone and stuff like that. Wow. And then I found out more about like Joseph Smith, like the Mormons founded a city called Nauvoo, which is in Illinois on the Mississippi. And
everybody just looked at me. I'm from Illinois originally. Really? I just got a strange look, like Illinois.
You know about that?
Listen,
that city was started by Joseph Smith and the Mormons, and it was a total swampland when they got there. And I actually just went there this summer for the second time, and I love that place just because there's so much Mormon history. I still feel a strong tie to my Mormon culture because I'm a 7th generation Mormon on both sides. And take gospel claims from Nauvoo to Utah, right?
And you do consider yourself now a secular Mormon, right? Is that the label you give yourself?
I prefer that term over ex-Mormon. However, I don't care if people call me an ex-Mormon. I'm not going to be like, no, I'm a secular Mormon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. But I like that term a little more because I still identify as a Mormon, especially culturally. I mean, I grew up in Utah County, Utah. They're never going to take that part of my cultural identity away from me.
Yeah.
However, I do not believe in God at all, and or I do not believe in any of the truth claims of the Mormon Church, right? And so, anyway, so I do prefer the term secular Mormon for those reasons.
Yeah. Well, so that brings us to the truth claims, right? Like, so then how did you get into, I want to be a part of something that helps expose abuses by the church?
Yeah. So Ryan, who was supposed to be on here with me, but he was not able to join us last minute.
It's okay, we forgive him.
If we were here, but
you have been forgiven, Ryan.
He is. So he's my co-founder of the Truth and Transparency Foundation, and let's see, while I was on my way out of Mormonism, he played a big part in bringing to light what is infamously called the November policy within the Mormon community. And what that policy was is you are probably familiar with it because of your LGBT activism, is that Mormon children of gay parents cannot be baptized until age of 18, and then when they do, they can't recognize their parents' relationship.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
that was in my notes too.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's so messed up.
insane.
That is completely insane.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was pretty secret up until November 2015 when it was leaked. It was in a secret handbook that is only given to Mormon bishops, and higher, right? More bishops and higher within the church can see this manual, and it was in there, and I don't know the entire story, but I know that Ryan played a significant role in bringing this thing to light, and because of that, this thing blew up. I mean, this policy was in the New York Times and the Washington Post, and like there was so many people very upset about it. A lot of people affected by it. Yep. And just terrible situations. And anyway, Ryan kind of became the go-to to get leaks from inside the Mormon church, right? And he would just release them on Reddit, right? The ex-Mormon subreddit is incredibly active. It's got like
I love Reddit.
65,000 subscribers or something like that. Wow. Yeah, and he would just release them on Reddit, and then in October 2016, he got it was like 13 or 14 videos of private meetings of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, which is the highest governing body within the Mormon Church.
The 12 old men.
Yeah, it's actually 15. So there's the first presidency, which is three old men, and then there's the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, which is 12 old men.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
They make a pyramid.
So there's actually
which is the Illuminati.
Yeah,
they are the Illuminati. Great, I figured it out.
Just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, so he in October 2016, he leaked these videos on YouTube, and that was the first time he did anything under the name MormonLeaks. He made a YouTube channel called MormonLeaks, and that also blew up. The New York Times did a story on it, and it was a big deal. And it just showed. I mean, it showed one how absolutely out of touch these men are with reality, and two, it also exposed a senator from Oregon who admitted that he voted for the Iraq war so that the church would stand a better chance of preaching the gospel in Iraq because of the American influence there.
Oh, what? I hate everything.
So
it's okay, Andrea.
Yeah, and that's when it kind of became obvious to me and to many, many others within the ex-Mormon community that a dedicated site needed to be established with like an anonymous submission system where people can come in and submit these leaks because it was just getting out of hand. And these videos were like, they were, to this date, probably the biggest thing that we've leaked so far. And that's when I reached out to Ryan and I said, I actually listened to Ryan on a podcast where he talked about the process of how he got these videos. And I am a cybersecurity engineer.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me help you set up some submission systems that will keep your sources anonymous, and then you won't have to worry about it. And he got contacted by a couple others, and for whatever reason, he chose me to do it. And then we made MormonLeaks, and we launched the website in December of 2016, and been successful. And then it was so successful that we got pressure from other ex-religious activist groups, and we launched that in November of 2017.
Right. So let's talk about some of the recent releases by MormonLeaks and FaithLeaks. We discussed the plague within the JW Church regarding sexual abuse and the way that they handle these cases. And if anyone's interested, while it's disgusting to read, you guys actually had a release last month of 33 letters and documents spanning 13 years detailing accusations of 3 accusers and the internal communication surrounding it. I'd like to read one of those now. So this is your content warning. If discussions of sexual abuse of children are too much for you to handle, if you're listening live, mute us. If we'll give you a signal on the screen that when we're done. If you're listening post hoc, pause the show. If you need to come back to it, whatever you need to do to get yourself through this. So this was an interview conducted on September 20th, 2004, at the Palmer, Massachusetts Kingdom Hall. The names are redacted, so to keep track of them, I'm going to read them as the color blocks that they are in the redaction. So red, for example, will refer to the woman making the statement. So after prayer by Brother Yellow, Red was asked to make her statement as to why we were here. She said that beginning at age 4, her father, Blue, had sexually abused her. Asked if there was penetration, she said yes, and that it was vaginal, oral, and also sodomy. During these events, she says, her father would ask her to pray, and he would quote scriptures, particularly 2 Peter 2:22, the dog has returned to its own vomit, when she would sometimes vomit. Asked over how long a time this occurred, and she said it terminated when she became older. There were lots of things happening in the family. Terminated about age 13. Additionally, she was raped on coming home from school by someone she didn't know. She alleges that her father was physically abusive towards his wife and her sister. He was very angry, violent, and controlling. She was asked if she ever got professional help, and she said she did, from a brother, Green, at about age 17. She was asked if she had been examined by a doctor when these alleged incidents took place, and she said she saw a doctor at age 4 because of rashes and so on, but he apparently did not recognize abuse. She alleges that he alluded to Judges 20, 29, and 30, and if the girls revealed what he was doing, he could do the same with them and scatter their remains in a field, and no one would ever find them. They considered this, correctly, my emphasis, a threat upon their life. Asked if she would be willing to face her father with these accusations if it came to judicial action, and she said she would rather not. Becca, would you like to chime in here? This whole, like, if the victim is not willing to face her accuser, then they're basically like, well, then there's no judicial action that we can take.
Yeah.
Is that, am I reading that right?
Yeah, pretty much. There are supposedly, and I don't know, it's in one of those secret handbooks that the witnesses have. There's protocol. They have to contact the headquarters and get directive.
And all of that is documented here.
Yeah.
All of that back and forth.
So I know that there are like things where there's extenuating circumstances mentioned where the victim doesn't want to confront the accused.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, from the stories that I've heard, that does not help their case.
Right.
And I don't know. It's
well, I think what jumps off the page most to me, and this is, things that you've talked about before with these backroom secretive handshake shit, but to see it on paper in their own shitty old man cursive handwriting.
Did he penetrate you?
It's
that's disgusting. And they ask those questions, and then they ask things like, did you
enjoy it?
No. Did you have an orgasm?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like,
right.
Really? I'm telling you, this person raped me. That doesn't.
You shouldn't have to. No,
So for me, it's the deception, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that they put on this face to everyone on the outside,
Right.
everyone outside the body of elders. We say, oh, well, sure, we take these allegations very seriously.
Sure.
But then we go behind closed doors and say garbage like, well, if you didn't have 2 witnesses, it doesn't count.
What were you wearing? Like they perpetuate the rape culture.
Yep.
And it's horrible.
So this collection of documents, I think, Ethan, this seems to cut right to the core of your mission of transparency.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And this is obviously, a problem within many religions. We all know the problems with the Catholic Church. I mentioned an activist movement within the Mormon Church right now of trying to actually stop these worthiness interviews, because what happens in them is that the bishop takes the child or the teenager into a room behind closed doors one-on-one and asks them questions such as, do you keep the law of chastity? Which the law of chastity within Mormonism is, do you abstain from sexual activity, including masturbation and viewing pornography? And then if they can't answer in the affirmative, then the bishop will typically then probe and say, well, are you masturbating? How often? To what kind of porn? Like with things that are just completely inappropriate for a middle-aged man to be asking anybody.
Right.
And especially in a room alone together.
Right.
It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Right.
What does that do to that poor kid? Like, your psyche, it must just all be shambled after that.
So yeah, you're absolutely right when you say that this cuts right to our mission of transparency. I mean, when we received these documents, we were incredibly sad, but at the same time, we were, excited, because this kind of shit needs to come to light in order for it.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And it's disgusting. And if I may, just really quick, I'd love to talk to victims of abuse that may be listening.
Please. Absolutely.
Tell them that they, under absolutely no circumstances did they ever deserve the abuse that they received, and it is absolutely not their fault. And if you need reassurance of that, you come to FaithLeaks, you come to me, and I will reassure you of that, because it is absolutely true, and it is absolutely okay for you to tell other people about it, and you need to in order for it to stop. And the victims of abuse, that you are the reason why I do what I do with FaithLeaks and MormonLeaks, is to put this to an end.
Yeah. Another story that got national attention this past couple of weeks, when former wives of Rob Porter, who resigned as White House staff secretary this week, said that Porter physically abused them, and that their LDS bishops either didn't believe them or refused to act, like this same old story over and over again. And at one point, one of the wives, Jennifer Willoughby, said she was cautioned by a bishop that Porter had career ambitions that might be damaged by her sort of allegation. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is I don't know if you all saw a tweet that we tweeted out applauding the reporting around this, and actually Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, he specifically highlighted the problem with the Mormon bishops not responding to these accusations, and we tweeted out that this is not a unique occurrence. Unfortunately, there are absolutely no statistics for us to go off, and so we cannot say that it's not a rare occurrence or anything like that. But the thing is, it happens, and it happens more than it should, and it's absolutely terrible. And we tweeted saying clergy should start by believing always. That should just be the standard, right? Because that is what those victims deserve. 100%.
Yeah.
Did you, I know we did, was it last year, the Australian Royal Commission did a probe into all kinds of sexual abuse allegations for most religions in Australia. Did you hear, were there any Mormon cases in that, in that case that you heard about? Or did you hear about it?
I'm not sure. I heard about it. I actually got into a debate with a J-Dub about it on Twitter a couple weeks back. But I actually have not read the report to see if I've only read the section on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah.
Well, they seem to be the ones
they were
deeply affected by it.
They were well, yeah,
put on blast.
Because they were the ones that were like their direct. They had the secret handbook, and they have all their policies, and And Angus Stewart, who is one of my free passes.
You missed an earlier conversation.
No, he was brilliant. Just going at it with just every time they tried to deflect, he was like, "Well, in your book it says."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seemed to really hurt them. They came out right away with a statement, and there was a local special needs or whatever talk that went out worldwide about the media picking up stories and that persecution complex,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that's anti-JW is put out there by Satan. So they were preparing their sheeple to plug their ears and not listen. So I don't know.
Yep.
Before we move on, we're at our time here. Are you okay to keep going? Because this is really good stuff, but I want to be respectful of your time too.
Yeah, I am. I could go all night if you need me to. So.
Brilliant. So we've kind of touched on sexual abuses, physical abuses, and yeah, we've talked before on the show about the way that our laws give religious leaders a pass on reporting these crimes to police, right? That, we can just handle it internally because the law lets us do it, which is fucking garbage. And then they just sweep shit under the rug. But what sorts of maybe other documentation or like what other things are you aware of that may have been brought forward in addition to sexual or physical abuse? What other kinds of abuses are we dealing with here when we look at church abuses?
Yeah, just ecclesiastical abuse in general, like using your ecclesiastical and clergy position to silence other individuals, right? Because you have this power, this supposed power over them, which is like such bullshit. You like, no Mormon bishop ever had any power over me, but they did because I let them,
Right? Yeah. Sure.
The intimidation
and
factor.
if people would just realize exactly right. Also, like financial abuse. So our most successful, I shouldn't call them successful. Our leaks that get the most attention are typically financial ones from the Mormon Church, because the Mormon Church is just it's $1 billion corporation, and their finances, just like JW and Scientology, are super closed, and they don't release like anything that they don't have to, right? And actually, excuse me, the Mormon Church, all growing up, there's this line that we have no paid clergy, we absolutely have no paid clergy, blah 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 blah. Which at the local level, like bishops, they're not paid, at least not that we know of, right? And actually, I'm confident saying that because my dad was involved with bishops and whatnot. So, but it was always assumed that the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and the other high up leaders of the church also did not get paid. But one of the very first leaks that MormonLeaks had was proof that they actually get paid $120,000 a year.
Whoa!
Wow.
Which
Man, I should have been.
Which is,
right? Different career path.
It's not. So I'll be completely honest in saying that I thought it was going to be a whole lot more.
Really?
And so I thought it was going to be much more. And granted, we don't know what else the church is paying for them. Like if the church is paying their mortgage or like their car loan.
Are they wearing
stuff
Rolexes
like that, right?
and driving up in Bentleys?
Exactly. Well, but the thing is too is that almost all of these men have had incredibly successful careers and are millionaires, right? Already, and have plenty of retirement to live off of, and then they're still getting $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so that line, no paid clergy, has absolutely been put to bed because of that release, right? And that was exciting for us. Another one that we had that got a lot of attention because of the Streisand effect, which I'm sure you're familiar with that term, but it's when Barbara Streisand, a photo was released of her house in like in the Bahamas or somewhere, right? And it was really freaking huge, and then she demanded that it be taken down, and because she demanded that, it went viral on the internet. So called the Streisand effect, and the church did the exact same thing to us. We leaked the PowerPoint presentation that had one slide on it had a bubble chart, and the title was something like "Things that Lead People Away from the Gospel," right? And it had like just over a dozen bubbles on it of like reasons that they thought people were leaving the church, and like one of the biggest circles on there was pornography, and then actually the ordained women movement that I mentioned earlier on was their own bubble on there, as well as this man named John DeLynn, who is he's a ex-Mormon activist, and as well as this man named Denver Snuffer, and yes, that is his real name. Denver Snuffer has actually gone to found. He's founded an offshoot of Mormonism, a slightly more, I don't want to say more conservative, but like kind of more, slightly more conservative and fundamentalist than mainstream Mormonism.
Wow.
But anyway, the church, since writing that PowerPoint, well, actually, I guess we don't know the year. I'll have to go back and see if we knew the year that it was published. But anyway, the leader of ordained women was excommunicated. John DeLynn was excommunicated, and Denver Snuffer was excommunicated. 3 people that were specifically called out on that bubble chart were excommunicated. And anyway, we released it. The very next day, we got hit up with a DMCA takedown request, and it immediately went viral. We responded with a letter from our attorney. And the Washington Post covered the story, and so many other news outlets picked it up.
Awesome.
The church fell flat on its face on that one.
Was there a picture of a middle finger in the letter that the attorney sent? I'd like to know.
No, there was not.
There should have been.
The entire letter might as well have been a middle finger.
Right, yeah.
Like,
lawyer speak for fuck you is pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I know. Love it.
So I do have a couple of our listeners wrote in some questions. So you mentioned the policy regarding children of gay married couples. And we definitely talked about that on the show when it broke, when the news broke. One of our listeners, Mara, sent in a question for you. And she said, the concept of straight married but gay Mormons. And sure enough, just last month, Josh Weed, who I guess kind of rose to Mormon fame for coming out as a gay LDS man and then married a woman as proof that you could just like pray the gay away and it would all be okay, and like same-sex attraction would just disappear and you could be good Mormons. Well, then now they've announced their divorce. I'm not sure, like, is that scenario common is the good question, but are there more people coming forward like Weed that were kind of pushed into, formal church marriages that are in the same sex attraction just didn't go away? Like, and where does the church stand on all of that now?
Yeah, so the church has evolved its position on this issue. Significantly, and it used to be that, like, they would tell gay men or gay women as well, but that if they were to enter into a straight relationship, that they would be blessed and that the gay would go away. But surprise, it didn't. Yeah. And many families have been torn apart because of that. Right? It's an absolutely terrible policy, and but the church no longer encourages that. They're not. Like, bishops might do that at like their own local level, but the church as a whole no longer endorses that. Right?
Okay.
As far as I can tell, anyway. And I have several friends that are gay that choose to stay within the church, and they're happy and everything, and good for them. Josh Weed is interesting. I don't know him personally, and I'll be completely honest. I actually had never heard his story until he did announce his divorce. And I thought it was interesting that he was kind of standing up as like, look, yes, I can make this straight relationship work, even though I'm gay, because that kind of that has kind of become fairly taboo within the church. I mean, maybe not necessarily in like the most Orthodox circles, right? But but anyway, so like I said, I have friends that did marry into straight relationships when they had like 4 or 5 kids, and then they just couldn't take it anymore and decided to get divorced. And like it was a very painful divorce because like they wanted to pursue relationships that made them happy, right?
Sure.
And be gay, and their spouse did like saw that as very sinful, and so like the children often had to be like, oh my goodness, like who's right, mom or dad, right? And like it's just and a lot of in some of these situations, like the kids like do end up disowning their gay parent, and it's terrible.
That's one of the things that we've been really outspoken with about religion in general, but with Becca's own like experience with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Like this idea of shunning is just disgusting. Like if you can't love your family, I just don't get it. That wasn't my experience in religion. That our bland version of Christianity, we didn't do that.
Right.
So it's like so foreign to me.
Yeah, and I often say, I've said this publicly a few times, that if I were given the choice to be born a J-Dove or be born a Mormon, and it had to be one of those two, I would hands down choose Mormon, hands down.
Me too.
Like, and it has to do with a lot of like, I mean, J-Dubs don't celebrate any holidays or birthdays, and they're also discouraged from going to school. Like, I was encouraged to go to school, and I have a meaningful career, and I really enjoy what I do. Whereas I have ex-J-Dub friends that are just starting college and they're in their late 30s, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And good for them for taking their life back, right?
But absolutely.
Like, it would have been so much better had they started it when they were 20, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But then also like the whole shunning aspect is another reason. Like within Mormonism, there is no like mandated policy like you must shun somebody in your family that leaves the church. There are leaders that have that opinion, like that you should distance yourself from those people, but there's no like official church policy like there is in the Jehovah's Witnesses. However, especially where I'm from, there is a cultural and like a societal expectation that will happen. Yeah. And let me tell you, I learned who my real friends were when I left the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did too.
So
we're talking about abuses of the church. Another listener, John, asked, how rampant are allegations of abuse / unsafety / retaliation in temple employment? Like, how valid are those allegations? And he referenced a Twitter user, John Smith, who follows us, surprisingly, but who is very vocal about his I assume his employment experience. Are you familiar with him or any cases like that?
I am familiar with John Smith. I have seen his tweets and whatnot, and I've heard his story, but I'll be completely honest in that his is really the only instance that has been publicly shared that I am aware of. Okay. However, that being said, like I'm not trying, I by no means am trying to invalidate his experience.
Sure, that
all.
doesn't rule it out. Absolutely, yeah.
Right. It's totally within the realm of possibility, and I believe him. Like I'm a big fan of starting by believing, like I said earlier. And however, I haven't heard of a rampant problem of that. However, it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go, I want to kind of make sure that we encapsulate everything we've covered here. Is there anything we missed that you wanted to make sure we covered?
No, I mean, just like I said, when we released the Palmer leak is what it's kind of been unofficially dubbed, under FaithLeaks. It was absolutely amazing to me the amount of people that came forward and said, like, thank you, I have suffered abuse from my elder in my congregation, or from my father, or from some random person in my congregation, right? And like the number of people that like came forward on Twitter and on Facebook, like sharing their experiences, it was so sad, but at the same time, it was just so beautiful. And I was like, I was in complete awe of their strength, right? And again, I kind of touched on this, but victims of abuse do not deserve it, and they are strong, and they do have the power to come out and help end this, right?
Yeah.
And help put this. And it is just, and again, everybody on their own time. Not everybody's ready to do something like that. I completely understand. But we are here for you. And again, you are all the reason that I do what I do.
I think there's a lot of parallels that we're seeing with kind of the broader Me Too movement too, right? Like once you get a handful that come out and say, look, this was my story, it makes it easier for the next handful and the next 100 and the next 1,000 for these people to come forward and say, like, look, this is my experience. And so, yeah, like just getting the ball rolling down the hill is really the most important thing, getting the door open that people can, you know, come to a microphone and say, this is my experience. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually within that movement within the ex-Mormonism to end the bishop one-on-one interviews with children. It actually started with a petition by a man named Sam Young, who is like one of the best men I've ever met in my life. He's a former Mormon bishop. He is still currently a Mormon, right? So he used to be a Mormon bishop, is still an active Mormon, and he started a petition to end these interviews because of the damage that it does to children being asked those types of questions in a one-on-one situation. And he's gotten over 14,000 signatures last I checked, and he's had he's had 2 successful press conferences, and on top of that, he's had hundreds of people come forward on his website and share their stories. Some of them have done it anonymous. Most have done it anonymously. Others have actually put their name to it. And some of the stories are just they make me cry, right? If you want to check out those stories, go to protectlbschildren.org and click on the link, read the stories. A content warning, like there are like attempted suicide and sexual penetration, things like that, right? But absolutely heart-wrenching, but also necessary to help end this problem.
So do you want to talk briefly about kind of the mechanics of how all of this works? You know, obviously we encourage anyone who has any sort of documentation that is useful in exposing an injustice in a faith community to reach out to you. But you've created a system specifically. I mean, is it kind of in the same design as WikiLeaks? Like, I think that people are familiar with that. Is it kind of like that, wherein it doesn't track your IP address? Like, there's no way to trace it back to the submitter.
Yeah. So so we do not use the exact same system as WikiLeaks, but it accomplishes the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. We use a program called Secure Drop, which is actually developed by the Freedom of the Press Foundation. It's the same idea as WikiLeaks. We don't track any information from you. If you use Secure Drop to submit documents and communicate with us, we have no way of knowing who you are unless you tell us who you are.
Right.
So that is obviously our preferred method. It's pretty easy. We have directions on both the home pages, on the home pages of both MormonLeaks and FaithLeaks on exactly how to do that. But yeah, that's how we encourage our sources to submit documents to us if it's the safest way.
Beyond that, how can like Citizen X help? You know, like let's say you've got somebody who doesn't have any documentation and hasn't been personally harmed by an organization like this. You know, what can the casual observer do to help move the movement forward, I guess?
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it. I mean, the more people we have talking about the abuses within religion, I mean, I've been posting on my Facebook wall like crazy about this petition that I was just telling you about, and I am driving my Orthodox friends bananas posting all that stuff, right? But I do it anyway, and I've probably been unfriended by quite a few people because of it. Because the more people talk about it, the more people are likely to come around, right, and realize the problem. And the thing is just like, it's so sad that within most religions there has been this idea that you don't question authority, right? And like, that is policy, and so you don't question it. But what about when that policy is so clearly hurting others? Like, can we talk about it then? And people need to get out, to like step out of their shell, out of their comfort zone, and realize that it is okay to talk about policy that is negatively affecting people, right? And it is okay to criticize policies of their religion. They can still be a good, active member of that religion. I don't care what the leaders of that religion say, right? About if this is negatively affecting people that you know and you love, like, you need to talk about it, right? One of my favorite Martin Luther King quotes, it is very cliche, but it's the one where he says that our lives begin to end the day we stop talking about things that matter. I may have butchered it, but that's you get the gist, and I believe in that 100%, right? And so talk about it, talk about the problem, and the more we get taught. I mean, the Me Too campaign is a perfect example, right? I loved that Time Person of the Year. I can't remember exactly what they called it, but I loved the take that they took on it. It was the people that are coming forward, the storytellers that are coming forward with their stories. It's beautiful, and so just keep talking about it.
So if there's one place you want us to funnel people to, is there one website you'd prefer we drive people to? I mean, obviously, we're going to put links to FaithLeaks and MormonLeaks and Truth and Transparency, but is there like a central point you want us to get people to?
Yeah, FaithLeaks is probably the best one to just drive people to. Okay. If they like the secure drop system that we use is the same one for both of them. So if you're submitting the MormonLeaks secure drop, you're also submitting the FaithLeaks secure drop, okay. Right? And then so we do plan on keeping MormonLeaks and FaithLeaks separate for now, just because we have, like, MormonLeaks was already established, right. And the way that we have the documents organized and everything over there, and like there's thousands of links all over the internet pointing to that site that maybe somewhere down the line we'll merge the two, but for now, anyway. So so FaithLeaks is probably the best way to go unless you're specifically interested in Mormon things and MormonLeaks. So
awesome. Well, we thank you for doing this work and for sharing it with us. It's so necessary, and I appreciate that you're in the position where you can, right? Again, like we talk so much about, like, not everyone is in the position that they can. You talk about your people who are still in the organization that have access to documents that need to see the light of day, that can't be public. And that you've created a way for them to put those out there, but in a way that you can also, be free yourself to come out and say, like, look, we have to do something about this. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we will make sure to get all the links in the show notes of this episode 97. And absolutely, if this was great, I loved this conversation. This was so enlightening. And if there's anything we can do moving forward to help you get the word out, please just say the word, and we'll do whatever we can to help you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on, and we'd be Ryan and myself. We'd both be totally willing to come back. It's been fun.
Fantastic. Anytime. It's our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ethan. All right, Ethan Dodge of the Truth and Transparency Foundation. Man, that was really good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Shit. So I'm going to wrap the show here, but I have to switch some devices around. Because I'm not prepared. Well, no, I guess I don't have to. So, there is a cache of information on these websites.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any interest in what goes on in these more culty religions, again, here's the list of the Palmer files. It starts in November 1999 all the way up to 2012. It just letters back and forth from different levels of the organization, and including the one that we read. And it just shines a light on the disgusting things that happen when you allow a religion to have a privilege that other places don't have, that other organizations don't get. When you get to say, we're going to handle this internally and not notify the police. Imagine if your boss was sexually molesting you in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to HR and they said, oh, no. We're not going to contact the police. No. We don't need to do that. We'll handle this internally.
That's sick. That must be the worst feeling in the world to feel, you know, and I feel for everybody who's gone through something like that. So, I think that's really great what he's doing.
Yeah.
Ethan and Ryan, that takes a lot of courage because you know that there's going to be people out there.
And again, for them to put their name on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? These are the two
Yeah.
guys that have come out and said, we'll put our name behind this, that this is, we're not the ones necessarily providing the documentation, but we're going to create a forum where we can talk about this openly.
Yeah.
And
it's
that's
wonderful.
fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you again to Ethan for joining us tonight. Andrea, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to the Orange County Sheriff's Department for
Thanks, Orange County.
for taking care of my my fucking Jeep problem. And thank you to our wonderful patrons.
Hey.
What? Thank you, Becca.
Thank you, Becca, for coming and picking me up.
And thank you, Becca, for coming and picking me up.
Shit, I gotta beg for a
and
thank you.
Consoling me in bed while I was a mess. I was a fucking disaster.
Yeah, you're gonna pay me back tonight. That's okay.
Love it.
Okay, Andrea, it's time to leave.
Hey-o, ding. All right. Thank you to our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/SarahTalk. Part-time patron Russell, Andrea, the Wayward Willis podcast, Josie, Harry, Jeremy, Heather, Stacy, Megan, Morgan, and AJ. I love having such a big group. We'll see you next week. This is Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.